Hey guys, sorry for the late upload, I kinda got burnt out but I'm back. I will kill the author. Chapter 174 196 Day 3rd on the southern mountain range. A broken bar. Swish, swish, swisher exclamation mark. It was just yesterday when Leo instructed me to perform 1000 spear thrusts, blocks, parries, and swings. Afterwards, he meticulously pointed out my errors and instructed me to focus solely on executing spear thrusts until he deemed it sufficient, and so, for the past day, I had only been performing forward spear thrusts, and now, I think my spear tip is starting to shake less. Maybe I'm improving after all. But Leo's voice boomed from the sidelines as he keenly observed me. Your spear tip is still trembling just before you execute your thrust. Strengthen your footing and keep your thrusts straight. Oh, fuck off. Day 5th on the southern mountain range. A broken bar. Thacker exclamation mark. Having spent a full day and a half solely practicing spear thrusts, I was now permitted to advance to practicing my blocking techniques. Leo would thrust his spear towards me, and my task was to block each strike using only my weapon and coordinated movements. You're doing it wrong. He would also yell at me whenever I'd make a mistake. He would point out minute stuff like how my breathing was off or how my footwork was wrong. Right now, for instance, I was blocking wrong. When you block with a spear, your goal should be to immobilize my weapon, not push it away, he clarified, nodding. I raised my spear once again, gripping it tightly. Catch my weapon in place with your block. Then, after successfully neutralizing my thrust, use your spear to bind or circle around my weapon with your blade to counterattack, he explained. His words prompted a frown to form on my face. Wait, master, I interjected, isn't blocking intended for defense? If I bind or encircle your weapon with my blade, then wouldn't that be considered an offensive move? Leo's response was immediate. Indeed, it is. Haven't you heard? The best defense is a relentless offense. A broken bar. Well, that's fair, I guess. Day 6th on the southern mountain range. A broken bar. Taka exclamation mark. Today we've finally moved on to practicing my parry techniques. Unlike when I was blocking, where the objective for me was to firmly hold the opponent's weapon in place, parrying required me to deflect and push their strikes away. Parrying consecutively with a spear proved to be harder than I had initially imagined. The reason? The weight of my spear, combined with the forceful clash against my opponent's weapon, exacted a toll on my wrists. Initially, performing a couple of parries wasn't a problem. However, as time passed, my wrists started hurting. Whenever the pain became unbearable, Leo would toss me a mid-grade healing potion. I would drink it, and we would then resume training. Day 7 on the southern mountain range. A broken bar. Swish, swish, swisher exclamation mark. Performing swings came naturally to me. After all, it was something I had practiced the most after coming to this world. Leo had nothing much to correct in my execution aside from refining my stance and making some subtle adjustments to my movements. In a remarkably short span of time, my swings began to become more precise and cleaner than before. Yes, there was no denying it now, my skills were undeniably improving. No, you've got it all wrong. A broken bar. Oh, come on, what now? Leo walked up to me, casually munching on a piece of beef jerky while holding a whole packet of it in his hands. This bastard, I hadn't eaten a thing in the last 7 days, and here he was, relishing a snack. As he came to stand before me, Leo bellowed, "You're exerting too much strength in a single swing, causing a delay before you can transition into the next one. What does that mean?" I inquired in a confused tone. Leo let out a weary sigh, tucking the packet of beef jerky into his pocket. He then summoned a sleek black spear into his hand. "Swing at me," Leo commanded, his tone leaving no room for hesitation. Still confused, I complied with his instruction. Firmly gripping my spear, I raised it high before bringing it down in a powerful swing towards Leo. Swisher exclamation mark. But with ease, Leo sidestepped, evading my attack effortlessly. Squisher exclamation mark. Before I could even process what had occurred, I felt the cold edge of the blade pressed against my neck. My gaze followed the blade's path, tracing it back to the shaft and the hands that held it. It was Leo. In an instant, he had positioned the blade of his spear against my throat, leaving me no time to react. "What the fuck?" I exclaimed in disbelief as Leo retracted his spear. "Do you see now?" Leo stated matter-of-factly, taking a few steps back to create some distance between us. "You exerted so much force in a single strike that you left yourself vulnerable and couldn't react in time to my counterattack," he explained calmly. "Why, you were just insanely fast," I retorted, frustration evident in my voice. "All right then, let's try it again. This time, you come at me, and to keep things fair, I'll replicate your level of spearmanship," Leo proposed, a hint of challenge in his voice. "Even then, I couldn't move at your physical speed," I reasoned. "Use mana," Leo said, "but only use it to enhance your speed." Raising an eyebrow in response, I nodded in agreement. "Fine," I said, channeling mana into my legs before I dashed towards him. Swisher! In perfect synchronization, Leo mirrored my movements, raising his spear high and executing a slashing motion towards me as soon as I got close, but he was way too slow in my eyes. Effortlessly, I sidestepped and easily evaded his spear before countering with a powerful thrust of my own spear aimed at his neck. Taka! But before my spear could make contact, Leo deftly stepped back, simultaneously raising his spear in an upward swing and effectively deflecting my attack. "Huh?" I gasped in surprise, but before I could react, in one fluid motion, he swiftly brought his spear back down, pressing the blade against my neck once again. What the broken bar! I was at a loss for words. There was no denying it. Leo had flawlessly mimicked my spearmanship, replicating every aspect of my technique with uncanny precision. From the stance to the level of precision to the fluidity of movement, he copied everything. It was to the point where it felt like I was watching myself in a mirror. Even when I used mana to enhance my speed, he still effortlessly reacted to my attacks, countering with those seemingly sloppy slashes that he replicated. How? Was all I could ask at that moment. "I already told you," Leo said calmly, "you're using too much force in each strike. It seems like you're fixated solely on strength." As his words reached my ears, a frown etched deeper on my face. "What are you saying?" I inquired. "What else should I be focusing on?" "The technique, Lucas," Leo responded in an "isn't it obvious?" tone. He continued, "Concentrate solely on the technique. The world around you is chaos. The technique is your sanctuary." I see, I said, understanding what he meant. "But how should I do that?" Leo answered. "I'll beat it into you. I will teach you." Did he just say what I think he said? This bastard. "All right then, I believe you've honed your fundamentals enough. Practice them daily. Do at least 1,000 swings, blocks, parries, and thrusts every day." Leo spoke. "Starting now, we'll start working on your technique." Right now, I was in the midst of training while being closely observed by Leo. "I'm telling you again, perform a down slash, followed by an up parry, a middle block, and finish off with a forward thrust," Leo instructed. It had been a week since our arrival on this southern mountain range. Having honed my fundamental spear skills to a satisfying degree, Leo now asked me to start connecting my thrusts, slashes, blocks, and parries. Basically, he said he wanted me to combine everything that I had practiced until now to perform combos attacks. Initially, I didn't understand what he meant by that broken bar, and I still don't. "Why can't you understand?" Leo yelled in exasperation. "Aren't you supposed to be a genius? What does a down slash, up parry, middle block, and forward thrust even mean?" I retorted, yelling back, "And aren't you supposed to be a world-class fighter, huh?" "Of course, I am. How is it my fault that you're too dense to comprehend what I'm saying?" Leo replied, his frustration evident. "Well, you know what they say, there are no bad students, only bad teachers," I shot back, maintaining the same tone. That last comeback of mine caused Leo's veins on Leo's forehead to bulge out as he clenched his teeth and struggled to contain his rising anger. "Foo! Just as I braced myself for what I thought would be the beating of a lifetime, Leo released a deep breath and cooled his head. "Yeah, you're right," he said as he walked up to me, summoning the black spear into his hand. "Here, I will demonstrate it to you myself." I instinctively took a step back, giving him the stage. Leo closed his eyes, took a few deep breaths, and then swiftly opened his eyes again. In the next moment, he sprang into action. He took a step forward, bending one knee as he knelt on the ground. From that position, he executed a flawless horizontal slash. Continuing his motion, he gracefully rose from his kneeling stance, sweeping his spear upward in the air. With precision, he brought his spear back in front of his chest, gripping its shaft with his hands wide apart. Finally, he took another step forward, pulling his spear back to the side before thrusting it forward at lightning speed. I stood there with my eyes widened and my mouth hung open. In that instant, the world around me turned quiet. I could only see a man with his long red hair tied into a braid, moving so gracefully upon the snow in front of me. My gaze was fixed on him, and I couldn't look away, mesmerized by the masterpiece he created with every swing of his spear. It was so silent, his spear didn't make any noise as it moved in the air. Kaz. Can I ever reach that level of mastery? Can I ever reach that level of precision? A broken bar. Can I ever recreate the masterpiece I'm seeing before me now? Lucas. The sharp sound of Leo's voice pierced through the silent haze that enveloped me. Startled, I turned my gaze towards him, still in a daze. "Did you catch it?" Leo asked. The urgency in his tone forced me to nod long before I could even realize what I was nodding to. "Good," he said. "Now, do exactly what I just did." Do exactly what he did? But how could I possibly replicate his masterful movements? His graceful command of the spear was mesmerizing. Can I even wield my own spear with such mastery? Can I swing it with such elegance that it wouldn't even make a sound? Lucas, what are you waiting for? Come on, perform the combo I just showed you, Leo urged, his voice cutting through my uncertainty. I instinctively nodded once again at his words. Tightening my grip on the spear, I began to mimic the steps and swings Leo had demonstrated to me moments ago. Swoosh, quish, swisher! After I was done, Leo nodded in my direction. "Good job," he said. "Now, on to the next." "Good job?" No, it wasn't. What I did was nothing but a shallow imitation of how Leo wielded his spear. A broken bar. Today marks the 8th day since our arrival on this southern mountain range. If it sounds like I was tired, it's because I really was tired. The reason, you asked? Well, I had been running up and down the mountain all day long, and as if that weren't enough, I had also subjected myself to perform 1,000 blocks, parries, thrusts, and slashes. Before doing this, my body ached, muscles screaming with every step I took, fatigue seeped into my bones, and my eyes burned in this cold wind pressing against my face as I logged uphill. All I want to do is to return to my apartment and collapse onto my bed. I want to lie down and just sleep, and of course, I want to eat some hot, spicy instant ramen before that. Ugh, just the mere thought of food has triggered another hungry growl from my stomach. I haven't had a thing to eat in the past 7 days, and I doubt today will be any different. These days, our practice sessions have become an endless marathon. We don't even take that many breaks between training anymore. From dawn till dusk, all I do is swing my spear and exercise. If I happen to pass out, Leo would give me a stamina potion to revive my energy, and we would return to training again. If I run out of mana, he would give me a mana potion which would help me replenish my mana pool, and if I fall down due to thirst, he would offer me water. If my muscles refuse to move, he would give me a healing potion. If I fall because of mental fatigue, we take a break for a couple of hours and engage in deep meditation before recommencing the training. But no matter how many times I collapse from hunger, Leo never offers me anything to eat, not even a snack. I truly believe that I'm on the brink of death. Death from hunger. How pitiful of a death would that be, huh? Ha ha. Initially, I feared I was going to be freezing to death when he came to this place, but the chilly temperature here no longer bothers me now. It's as if I'm gradually adapting, yet I can't adapt to hunger. My stomach growled vehemently with hunger as I arrived at the snowy meadow where we were staying. "You're back," Leo remarked, his voice calm and nonchalant. He sat on a stool with a crackling campfire in front of him, relishing a steaming bowl of chicken soup clasped in his hands. This guy, here I am, on the verge of starvation, and he's eating chicken soup. Huh? Gah, I swear to God, no, not God, I swear to myself that I will kill him one day. Leo rose from his seat, extinguished the fire, and quickly finished the soup before stowing away the empty bowl in his dimensional ring. Then he summoned the black spear into his grasp and he turned to face me. "Today, we will spar again," declared Leo. "Again?" I frowned in displeasure. "We have been engaging in sparring sessions almost every single day since we came to this place. Though I learned so many things from sparring against him, his skills are on a completely different level than mine. Fighting him feels like trying to climb a wall that I know I can't ever climb in a lifetime. Going against him, I couldn't help but feel inferior, and I'm not good at dealing with inferiority complexes since I don't feel it much." Maybe Leo noticed my thoughts as he let out a sigh and said, "I can see you don't like losing much, but as I've said before, martial arts can only be honed in combat." I guess he has a point. "All right," I relented. "Let's get started then." "Good," Leo nodded, "and don't worry, I will go easy on you this time." 15 minutes later, a broken bath whacker! A forceful kick slammed into my chest, propelling me back in the air until I collided with the ground, tumbling and rolling before coming to a halt. Freaking hell, I stammered, cursing softly under my breath. I gathered myself and rose to my feet, directing my gaze towards Leo. "I will go easy on you this time, my ass." Leo stifled a chuckle, his tone filled with amusement. "Believe me, this is me going easy." I rolled my eyes, frustration building within me. Gathering my strength, I charged forward with my spear poised for an attack. As soon as I closed the distance between us, with swift precision, I thrust my spear towards Leo. However, Leo effortlessly deflected my assault with his own spear, skillfully pushing me onto my back foot. Ugh! Gritting my teeth, without missing a beat, I launched a rapid succession of spear thrusts at Leo. Cling, cling, cling! But once again, Leo deftly parried each and every one of my strikes, relentlessly forcing me backwards. "Spear has a good range," Leo said while casually parrying my attacks. "It's a low-risk, high-reward weapon. Keep yourself out of my reach and aim for my head or heart. Even if you miss, you will have the time to jump back to safety before I could punish you for missing. Come, I won't parry your next attack." I tried doing as he said and aimed my next thrust at his heart. True to his words, Leo didn't parry my attack with his spear, swisher! But instead, he just swirled his body to the side and let my spear meet nothing but air. Following up on it, he quickly tried to step in and probably land another kick on me. Frustrated, I clicked my tongue. "Whooshaw!" To make some breathing space, I hopped a few steps back to safety. I refuse to get kicked by him again, and I can't keep on attacking him blindly. I need to devise a strategy to gain an advantage. Even if victory against him seems to be elusive or far from my reach, I have to find a way to seize the upper hand. Alright, let's calm down and think. After all, my intellect is my greatest weapon. Leo is approximately 10 meters away from me. If I were to charge forward now, faking a reckless attempt to close the distance, he would likely respond with a forward spear thrust. At that moment, I will crouch and let his spear pass over my head. From that low position, I could surge forward, launching my own counterattack. That's the general plan. Yes, this should work. After coming to that conclusion in my head, I nodded and slightly bent my knees, tunneling my vision at Leo, who was a few steps away! Swooshaw! Yet, before I could put my plan into action, Leo appeared before me out of thin air. My eyes widened in disbelief as he unleashed a powerful horizontal slash with his spear, aimed directly at me. Thwoosh! Exclamation mark. Reacting quickly, I raised my own spear to block his attack, but the sheer force behind his strike flung me in the air, tumbling to the side. Performing a mid-air backflip, I managed to land on my feet, stumbling a few steps before regaining my stance. I looked back at Leo in front of me, my eyes still widened in shock. How did he manage to appear in front of me so suddenly? Was I zoning out? No, that couldn't be right. I am fairly certain that my gaze never wavered from him. Then how? When did he close the distance? He didn't use any mana, I'm certain of it. So was it purely his physical speed? But that's impossible. No human can move at such speed without using mana, relying solely on his physical prowess. Even if that human happens to be none other than Leo Kurogami. Shaking my head, I cleared my mind of the thoughts and focused up front. I couldn't afford to lose sight of him again. A swisher! Exclamation mark. But in an instant, Leo appeared before me once again, his presence both startling and disorienting. You think too much, he stated plainly. Before I could even react, he thrashed his knee into my abdomen, causing me to crumple to my knees. Consumed by intense pain, I started to cough fitfully. Quack, quack. Observing my agonized state, Leo tossed a healing potion in my direction and took a step back. As he moved away, he began to speak. Your mind is cluttered with strategies, endless possibilities, and countless doubts, he explained. You calculate every potential outcome here, which is a good trait to have for a strategist, but not for a warrior. Circling around me, he continued, in the midst of battle, you mustn't burden yourself with overthinking. Each passing second should be dedicated to either hurting your opponent or ensuring your own survival. After consuming the healing potion, I gritted my teeth and pushed myself back onto my feet, the pain still coursing through my body. So, you're saying I shouldn't strategize anymore? I asked. Leo's response was swift and clear. No, strategizing is your greatest asset. Don't abandon it, he emphasized. However, cease the habit of endlessly calculating every possible outcome. Envision a single future, and make it a reality. Coming to a halt before me, he continued, how can you expect to find a clear path to defeating your opponent if you can't conquer your own thoughts? Raising his spear and assuming his stance, he urged me to do the same. Your focus should be on the present moment, not on your day before, not on what lies ahead. All that matters is the form, the technique. Master your mind, perfect your technique, and your opponent shall be vanquished. 12th day since our arrival on the southern mountain range. Broken bar. Well, even I have to admit it now, you've been making rapid improvements. Your breathing is correct, your stance is more refined, and your other bad habits are now almost negligible. Good job. Hearing the red-haired jerk applauding me for my efforts, I felt a sense of satisfaction start building up in my chest. You say that, but all I've been doing for the past 12 days is getting my ass kicked by you. I rolled my eyes. It makes me wonder if I'm truly improving. Trust me, you are, Leo replied. By the end of the 4th week, you'll be twice at least 3 as strong as you were before coming here. Exclamation mark. Upon hearing a growl emanating from somewhere nearby, Leo's ears perked up and he looked towards the woods. Was that a beast? He asked aloud, frowning. But how could that be a beast? Every single one of them is too terrified by Leo's presence to even approach the area he's in. No, that was my stomach, I snapped, frustrated beyond reason. You say I'll become strong by the end of the 4th week? Well, I won't even survive until then. Oh, so you're hungry? Leo clapped his hands together in understanding. That's why you're sprawled on the ground. Due to sheer starvation, after completing my morning exercise of running uphill and downhill a few times and practicing my swings, thrusts, blocks, and parries 1,000 times, I collapsed on the ground, and this jerk, who's supposed to be my master, casually woke up a few minutes ago and devoured an entire red velvet cake right in front of my eyes for breakfast. One of Leo's many nicknames was the Red Devil. Now I can understand why he got that moniker. He's a devil all right, I can see it. You're being overly dramatic, oh dear disciple of mine. Leo playfully clicked his tongue. During my own training, my master starved me for 4 months. For you, it has only been 12 days. Bullshit, I call bullshit. I attempted to rise, but my legs lacked any strength, causing me to end up on my knees. You can't survive for more than 2 months without food. Yet, here I am, alive and kicking. Leo gestured to his own body. You will survive as well. I'm going to die, aren't I? Shot by a maniac author in my first life, and starved to death by a maniac master in my second life. Am I some kind of magnet for maniacs or something, huh? But hey, since you've completed my first challenge and made it through the first week in this mountain range, I suppose I can offer you a small reward. Upon hearing the word reward, anticipation surged within me. What could it possibly be? A sliver of red velvet cake? Some leftover chicken soup? The last piece of beef jerky? Heck, at this point, I'm even willing to eat leftover chicken bones. I allow you to now use mana while training and sparring, Leo declared. A broken bar, huh? That's it. For reference, after I grasped the basics of martial aura and began my training with the spear, I was not allowed to use mana at all. Huh? How is that reward? If you really want to give me something, then just, for the love of God, give me something to eat. Not happening. Leo flashed an amused smile in my direction before he got up. Come on, let's start today's training. A broken bar. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to die. Just wait for me a little more, Grandma. I'm on my way to you. ? I gave it my all during the spar with Leo, but even after tapping into my mana, he ruthlessly wiped the floor with my ass. I now found myself in the same defeated position I was in before the training, lying face flat on the ground. Good job. Leo's voice reached my ears. I didn't expect your mana control to be that impressive. Impressive, my ass. I couldn't even manage to land a scratch on this redhead jerk. Get up, Leo said, poking me with the shaft of his spear. This time, try using martial aura and extend it onto your weapon. Groaning and whimpering, I forced myself to stand. Extending it onto my weapon? I raised an eyebrow inquisitively. Yes, Leo nodded. Think of your weapon as an extension of your own limb. Then, cover it with martial aura. This technique is known as weapon chi or simply sword chi. Wouldn't that deplete my mana pool way faster than usual? I frowned. Yeah, that's why you need to use it carefully in real battles, Leo replied. If you learn to wield it effectively, it can become a formidable weapon in your arsenal. My frown deepened. Yes, perhaps for now, but when I face seasoned fighters in the future, exhausting my mana too soon will only lead to my death faster. Leo looked at me, an amused glint in his eyes. Don't worry about that. Even though I don't possess a massive mana pool myself, I can still use sword chi for a long period of time. Do you know why? I actually do know why. In the novel, although nothing was mentioned regarding the size or rank of Leo's mana core, something else caught my attention. Within the story, Leo possessed a highly lethal secret art that allowed him to surpass the potential limitations of his mana core. Upon employing this secret art, he could harness the ambient mana present in the atmosphere to effortlessly cast spells and perform advanced martial arts techniques. That's why everyone in the story assumed that he possessed a high-ranking mana core, even though his specific rank was never mentioned in the novel. Even I believed he had a formidable mana core. That's why I thought with his secret art, he was pretty much broken. But now I can see, since his mana core ranking wasn't high, the only option he had was to use that secret art. So in a sense, despite being overpowered, I don't think he was broken anymore. Of course, even after connecting those dots, I can't go ahead and answer him, so I decided to feign ignorance. How is that? I asked. I will tell you when the time comes, Leo answered, but until then, get the hell up and start training. It has been around 20 days since we came to this god-forsaken mountain. Throughout our entire stay here, I have not been given a single thing to eat. I am on the brink of death. This isn't an exaggeration. I really do feel like I could drop dead any moment now, but even then, the red-haired jerk isn't pitying me. If I collapse from starvation and refuse to move, Leo would beat me. If I refuse to train, Leo would beat me. If I do train and spar with him, Leo would beat me. I'm no lawyer or legal expert, but doesn't this qualify as some form of child abuse? Even though I'm 18 and considered an adult, it still can be called abuse, right? Well, on a positive note, Leo claims that my martial arts skills have lately been improving. However, I'm too famished to notice any improvements or progress myself. It's a strange sensation. I never imagined anyone could feel this way, but here I am. Even when I'm hungry and depleted of energy, I can still keep moving because of the stamina recovery potions I consume. I feel drained of energy yet somehow still functional. I long for sleep, but I can't seem to sleep at the same time. It's as if I'm burning from head to toe, but I cannot even die. This experience is pure torment to a torture that I wouldn't even curse my enemies to experience. I never realized that hunger could cause such intense physical pain. Even though my stomach has stopped growling, I can feel my belly twisting and churning as if it's trying to eat itself. It hurts a broken bar. It hurts so much. Maybe this is karma. Broken bar. Maybe this is the divine retribution I'm receiving for all the bad things I did in both my lives. Oh, get up. Leo's voice abruptly reached my ears. I opened my eyes and found him standing there upside down in front of me. In reality, it was I who was upside down. During my training, Leo delivered a punch that sent me flying through the air, only to crash onto the mountain slope in an inverted position. I'm exhausted, tired from the constant beatings. I understand that this is supposed to be my training arc or something, but dear God, I've had enough. I can't do it, I snapped, my voice cracking as I yelled in a whimpering tone. Weakly, I rolled over and rose to my feet. I can't continue like this. It feels like I'm truly on the verge of death. Please, just give me something to eat, or let me go on another hunt. I promise, this time I'll slay those ice claw bears. No, you're still not strong enough. Leo firmly shook his head. First, you must master your sword chi, and then I might consider sending you on another hunt. At that moment, I felt tears of frustration welling up. I really was on the brink of a complete breakdown. Leo responded by lifting his sleek black spear and aiming it at me. Come! He bellowed. I gritted my teeth and held back my tears, frustrated more than ever as I felt my belly twisting in pain from hunger. Aga! I roared, launching myself forward. While charging towards Leo, I enveloped my body and weapon in a thick layer of Azure mana. The surge of mana enhanced my physical abilities to the point where I closed the distance between us in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! Exclamation mark. As soon as I stepped close to Leo, I swung my spear at his neck, aiming to cleave off his head with a clean slash. Of course, he evaded my attack easily by sidestepping to his right and countered with a swift spear thrust. Without hesitating for even a moment, I bent my knees and exerted force on the ground using my legs. Whoosh! Exclamation mark. Using my legs like a spring, I launched myself into the air, soaring directly over Leo's head. Nice one, Leo remarked as he gripped his spear tighter, but you've left yourself wide open in midair. As he said that, Leo launched his spear forward, aiming to stab a non-lethal area of my body. However, before his spear could connect, I swiftly twisted my body in midair and narrowly evaded the incoming blow as his spear brushed past me. Ho! Leo's eyes widened in surprise before I used the momentum of my spin to deliver a powerful downward vertical slash, putting all my weight behind it. Thaka! Exclamation mark. But to my dismay, Leo casually lifted his spear, using its shaft to block my attack effortlessly. Fuck off! I yelled, my voice filled with irritation. Haw, quite a rude thing to say to your master, Leo replied, visibly amused by my struggle, before easily pushing me away, sending me sprawling a few steps back. Ugh! I landed in the distance, clenching my teeth even harder. Without delay, I once again launched myself at Leo with an explosive burst of speed. Whoosh! Exclamation mark. Rather than charging straight at him, I rushed at him in a zigzag pattern, swiftly maneuvering towards him. Once I entered striking range, I swiftly bent my knees, getting into a low crouched position. Since Leo thought I was going to jump, he readied himself for it. However, instead of jumping, I twisted my body to the left, executing a low spinning horizontal slash with my spear aimed at his legs. Thacker! Nice, Leo acknowledged, swiftly blocking my low strike with his spear. TSK. I clicked my tongue in frustration. Raising my spear overhead, I executed a rapid and forceful downward slash towards him without giving him a chance to breathe. Thacker! But yet again, Leo deftly parried my attack, using his spear to push mine aside. Good combo. Swiftly pulling back my spear close to my chest after it was deflected, I unleashed a relentless fury of thrusts with all my might, aiming to overwhelm Leo. Cling, 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 clinger! However, Leo effortlessly blocked each and every one of my attacks, as if I posed no threat to him whatsoever. Like that, we continued to spar for the day, and then we resumed my training the next day, and the day after that, then the day after that again. It had been nearly 4 weeks, precisely 25 days since Leo and Lucas set foot on the southern mountain range. At present, Leo sat leisurely on a stool amidst the snowy meadow, munching on a chicken lollipop. As he continued to enjoy his snack, from his vantage point, he spotted a figure running uphill in his direction. It was a young boy, approximately 17 or 18 years old. He had silver hair, resembling the moon, and striking red eyes reminiscent of freshly spilled blood. His attire consisted of tattered black slacks, evidence of the hard training he had endured in the past few days. On his upper body, the marks of healed bruises and scars were visible. Despite consuming high-grade mana potions almost daily, concealing the aftermath of the abuse he had suffered proved impossible. As the young boy reached in front of Leo, the red-haired instructor gazed into his hollow eyes and flashed with a satisfied, yet warm smile. "I believe the time has come," Leo declared, standing up from his stool. "But before we proceed, let us spar once again. You can use magic, weapon arts, your unique abilities, and nearly everything in your arsenal. Come at me with the intention to kill." In the tranquil snowy embrace of the southern continent's mountain range, two figures found themselves standing face to face in a lockdown. It was a showdown. A man, his fiery red hair neatly tied up in a high bun, locked his intense gaze with the individual standing before him. The one who stood before him was none other than his own disciple. The young man swept back his silver hair and summoned a crimson spear with a gleaming crystal blade in his hands. "I can use anything, you said?" The silver-haired boy spoke, his voice hoarse and exhausted, but in contrast to his exhausted demeanor, there was an unmistakable feeling of dread surrounding his figure. An aura of power and danger was constantly being exuded from him. Leo nodded. "Yes," he said, his voice steady. "Not only that, but if you impress me with your performance, I will also let you hunt that pack of ice claw bears again. So if you want to eat something, come." Upon hearing Leo's response, something snapped inside Lucas. Light returned to his previous hollow eyes. He can finally eat something? The agonizing pain he's been experiencing in his belly will go away? Will he be able to eat again? Without a moment's hesitation, he bent his knees and let out a mighty roar. Mana burst. A small burst of mana explosion erupted beneath Lucas' feet, propelling him forward like a speeding bullet, aimed directly at Leo. In the blink of an eye, Lucas appeared before Leo with startling swiftness. Without missing a beat, he unleashed a furious onslaught of spear thrusts towards the red-haired instructor. Swish, swish, swisher! However, Leo dodged every single one of his strikes skillfully and placed his hand on the hilt of his katana. As soon as he got the chance, in one fluid motion, Leo unsheathed his katana and used the swinging motion to carry out a slash towards Lucas. Clinger! Lucas was quick to block Leo's blade with his spear. From that position, Lucas deftly circled his spear around Leo's sword and executed a rapid thrust towards his opponent's chest. Leo swiftly sidestepped, evading Lucas' spear thrust with a calculated movement. He countered with a lightning-fast spin, using the momentum to deliver a powerful roundhouse kick aimed at Lucas' side. Aga! With a frustrated grunt, Lucas managed to deflect the kick with the shaft of his spear, but Leo didn't let up. He regained his footing and raised his other leg in the next moment, only to land a powerful front kick to Lucas' chest. The impact of the kick sent the silver-haired boy stumbling back several steps, clearly feeling the force behind it. However, Lucas quickly composed himself, standing upright and tightening his grip on his spear. It's just as he thought. He couldn't find an opening in Leo's defense. It's impossible to land a strike at him. Well, if he couldn't find an opening, then he would just have to create one. With that thought in his mind, Lucas locked his gaze on Leo and chanted, "Rilis Lancia." In an instant, around 5 blazing lances made entirely of scarlet flames swiftly materialized above Lucas' head. Their scarlet flames flickered with intense heat and crackled the cold air in the atmosphere. A glint of insanity flashed in Lucas' eyes as the blazing lances launched towards Leo like missiles locked onto their target. "Nice one," Leo commented with an approving tone, impressed by Lucas's attack. Reacting swiftly, he shifted his weight and willed mana into his legs. With swift jumps and agile movements, the red-haired swordsman ran around the snowy meadow, deftly evading the fiery projectiles. Kaboom, boom, boom! Exclamation mark. 3 of the lances harmlessly met the ground and detonated upon impact, creating blasts akin to missiles exploding. But the assault wasn't over. There were still 2 flaming lances remaining. Without delay, one of the lances shot towards Leo at breakneck speed, leaving him with no time to catch his breath from the previous dodge. In a display of agility, Leo calmly leapt over the incoming lance, allowing it to meet the ground with a resounding explosion. Boom! Exclamation mark. However, just as Leo was in midair, he spotted another lance speeding towards him, aiming to catch him off guard. But without any hesitation, Leo channeled mana into his sword and swung his blade with precision. Shinger! Exclamation mark. In that fleeting moment, darkness momentarily shrouded the surroundings, and a single red line appeared, tracing a crescent arc that perfectly followed the path of Leo's blade. Boom! Exclamation mark. In a split second, when the light returned, Leo's blade had already sliced through the flaming lance that was coming at him. With a firm descent, Leo landed on the snow-covered ground beneath him, his footprints leaving imprints on the snow. However, once again, before he could even get a chance to breathe, another attack was launched at him. Aga! This time, it was Lucas himself who surged forward, his body and weapon enveloped in a brilliant as aurora of mana. Without wasting a breath, Lucas quickly started attacking Leo with combinations of spear thrusts and slashes, swiftly transitioning between them. Swish, thruck, swisher! Exclamation mark. However, Leo continued to sidestep or twirl his body to avoid the incoming attacks. However, amidst the intense flurry of attacks carried out by his disciple, Leo couldn't help but notice a pattern. Lucas seemed to be using his spear thrusts as a setup. He was using them to create openings for his slashing attacks. Moreover, the force behind Lucas's slashes was immense. Even when Leo managed to dodge, Lucas would continue his follow-through, the blade of his spear striking the ground with tremendous impact. Thruck, thruck, thruck! Exclamation mark. The earth quivered beneath the force of Lucas' attacks each time his spear blade struck the ground. But why? Leo couldn't help but wonder. He was certain that he had taught Lucas the proper way to harness his power. He had taught him the importance of control and precision rather than using all his strength in a single attack like a barbarian. Maybe he was becoming desperate. After all, Lucas had been hungry for weeks. If Leo had even offered a glimmer of hope to him, it was only natural for Lucas to grow desperate. If that were truly the case, then Lucas had failed Leo's test. With a disappointed sigh, Leo dodged one of Lucas' horizontal slashes by crouching under it. From that low position, Leo stepped in and delivered a forceful punch to Lucas' sternum. Arg! The silver-haired boy gritted his teeth and staggered back in pain, but before Lucas could recover, Leo capitalized on the opening. Using the blunt edge of his katana, Leo struck Lucas in the abdomen with precision and strength. Whack! Lucas violently coughed up blood. Unable to withstand the impact, he buckled under the force, collapsing onto his knees. "Your technique has become more refined," Leo acknowledged, "but you're still relying too much on blunt force." "It's fine, we still have 2 more days. I will beat this habit out of you. Unfortunately, you're not getting any food today either. Of course I planned this from the start. This is my clear path to defeating you," Lucas roared. A confused frown appeared on Leo's face as he heard his disciple talk. Did he break him? Has he gone insane? Concern filled Leo's voice as he spoke. "Lucas, are you okay?" However, before Leo could finish his question, a sudden thought infiltrated his mind, causing him to look around his surroundings in a state of realization. Whipping his neck side to side, he saw craters and massive holes had marred the ground, remnants of Lucas's strikes and the impact from his flaming lances. Moreover, he noticed that both of them were dangerously close to the edge of the mountain cliff too. Wait. Leo's eyes widened as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, his gaze returning to Lucas. However, by then, the silver-haired boy had already let out a heaven-defying roar. Mana burst, a colossal, bright-azure explosion erupted, its sheer force reverberating through the surroundings. The ground beneath them trembled violently, as if unable to withstand the impact. The once stable terrain cracked and fissures formed. Before long the ground itself shattered and Leo and Lucas found themselves free-falling. The rubble and debris of the shattered terrain cascaded around them, falling down with them, trapped in an unstoppable descent. Leo's eyes met Lucas's as they both plummeted down dangerously. "Did you plan this all from the start?" Leo inquired, his clothes, tattered from the previous explosion, fluttering in the air. Of course I planned this from the start. This is my clear path to defeating you," Lucas roared. "Hey!" A grin spread across Leo's face, a mixture of surprise and amusement. This was the moment he realized that his disciple was insane. Downright insane. Lucas tightened his grip on his spear, channeling mana that swirled from the shaft to the tip of its blade. He knew that under normal circumstances, finding an opening in Leo's impregnable defense was nearly impossible. The skill difference was simply too huge. That's why he devised a desperate gambit to create a moment when Leo couldn't counterattack. He chose to engage him in midair. During their fall, Lucas knew that Leo would never let him die. Leo would catch him before they reached the ground. In that moment of catching him, Leo would be vulnerable. That is when Lucas would strike. This was his complete victory. Leo also understood this, and he couldn't help but feel exhilarated. After all this time, he was finally experiencing a thrill in combat. Of course, he was holding back almost all of his strength, but this was fun. This was so much fun. "Ha!" Leo scoffed as he used a fallen chunk of shattered ground to propel himself forward towards Lucas and catch him safely. "I win!" Lucas exclaimed triumphantly as Leo closed in to catch him. Without a moment's hesitation, he thrust his spear toward Leo. Swisher! Huh? But Lucas could only widen his eyes as Leo kicked the air and changed the direction of his fall. "You can walk on air?" the silver-haired boy exclaimed in surprise, but before Lucas could react, Leo kicked the air once again, swiftly circling around him while still falling down in midair. Coming behind him, Leo hit the back of Lucas' neck with a chop, striking him unconscious as the latter could only gasp. Quickly, Leo then grabbed Lucas by the waist with one hand and kicked his legs again and again as if walking on air before landing on the ground beneath them. With a safe landing, he evaded the perilous debris that rained down from the shattered landscape over them from above. When I opened my eyes, it was already the afternoon of our 26th day here. "Oh, you're finally awake?" Leo was munching on a sandwich, relishing a snack while my stomach grumbled in hunger as usual. I groaned while trying to sit up straight. My vision was blurred, and it was clear from the throbbing headache I was feeling that I might have had a concussion. After my vision cleared, I glanced around and realized that we were currently in the middle of the woods. The tall trees stood proudly around us, covered in a thick coat of snow, much like the wintry ground beneath our feet. Surrounding us were huge boulders, which was a common sight since we were in the mountainous terrains. Naturally, Taking shelter in the woods was dangerous since there were bound to be numerous vicious mana beasts hiding in the forest. However, I also knew that none of them would dare to approach us because of Leo's presence. After all, they were wild creatures. They will listen to their instincts, which would tell them to stay the fuck away from this redhead jerk. Are you alright? Leo walked up to me with concern. Here, take this. He threw me a jacket. I glanced back at him, puzzled. Your clothes are in tatters, it's better to change out of them. Leo responded to my questioning gaze. Frowning, I looked down and discovered my t-shirt was in shreds, although my slacks remained in better condition. The lack of upper body coverage left me feeling chilled. Nodding in understanding, I slipped on the jacket. Oh, it was so very warm, Tilda. I had been feeling cold for so long that I had almost forgotten the sensation of warmth. Feeling cozy now? Leo asked, an amused smile adorning his face. If only I could have a comforting bowl of chicken soup. I sighed dramatically. Suppressing a chuckle, Leo remarked, haven't I already told you that I'm not going to share my food? However, I guess it's about time. You can go on another hunt. Huh? I exclaimed in surprise, my eyes widening. Really? Yes, Leo affirmed. I must admit, I was genuinely impressed by your performance yesterday. Your technique alone was commendable, but what stood out was how you acted on a single plan and followed it through. You had a clear plan of defeating me in your mind. I'm impressed. Yeah, I replied, waving my hand dismissively, not interested in what he was talking about in the least. So, when can I start hunting again? Now, don't be impatient, my dear disciple, Leo teased. Before that, I have one more thing to teach you. I raised an eyebrow. What's that? Are you going to teach me how to walk on air like you did? Or perhaps how you made those illusionary clones when we first sparred? None of them, Leo replied with a blank expression. Eth broken bar eth sidila eth macron eth apostrophe eth 1/4 n tilde micro eth superscript 1 I diaresis 1/4 zc eth om. Do you have an interest in learning those arts? Leo inquired curiously. Yes, I eagerly responded to his offer. I would have practically jumped if I had the strength to do so. Learning even one of those things would prove to be a big help in my future fights. So yeah, of course I was excited. Alright, here's the deal. If you manage to successfully hunt down that pack of ice claw bears, I will teach you one of those arts, Leo proposed. Great, can I go hunt them now? I asked. Not just yet, Leo chuckled. As I said earlier, there's something I need to teach you first. What would that be? I questioned. Will you teach me how to walk on air or create illusory clones similar to what you did in our very first sparring session? A frown appeared on Leo's face as he looked at me with concern-filled eyes. My dear disciple, yes, I prompted. Is hunger affecting your brain? Leo questioned. You seem to be talking in circles. What? I blinked, confused. No, I'm not. Leo pinched the bridge of his nose, sighing. Alright, get up, I'm going to teach you a weapon art. Taking a deep breath, I tried standing up but struggled to regain my balance, stumbling a few times before finally steadying myself. So, what will you be teaching me? I asked. Perhaps how to walk on air or maybe how to create a. Leo quickly cut me off as soon as I began speaking. The technique I'll be teaching you is called the 12 Movements, Scarlet Demon Devouring Art. Whoa, that's a cool name, I exclaimed. Yes, it was a little chunny, but it sounded cool nonetheless. Indeed, Leo responded, running his fingers through his red hair which was neatly tied in a bun. As I mentioned before, since you're my disciple, it's important for you to look cool no matter the situation. Therefore, I will naturally only teach you weapon arts that are cool, he added in a dramatic tone. I clapped my hands excitedly. So, is it a spear technique? Actually, it can be performed with both polearms and long swords, Leo explained. Its effectiveness depends on the skill of the user, rather than the specific weapon used. I see, I nodded. So, how do I use it? In response to my question, Leo infused mana into one of the dimensional rings on his finger and summoned a Japanese tile scroll into his hand. Without wasting a second, he tossed the scroll to me and then quickly summoned a longsword from another one of his dimensional rings. As I caught the scroll, I couldn't help but wonder, just how many weapons does this guy carry with him? He's like a living, walking inventory. The key to executing this weapon art with utmost perfection is hunger, Leo declared while slowly channeling mana into his weapon. Hunger? I furrowed my brow in confusion. Yes, Leo affirmed. Embrace the sensation of hunger, channel that feeling into your attacks, and recreate it with your weapon. But how can I do that? I inquired skeptically. Hunger is an abstract feeling. How can I physically recreate it through my weapon in the real world? Understand the pain, Lucas, Leo replied almost instantly. Allow yourself to feel the chill and the pain that comes with hunger. Surrender to that pain and let it guide your movements. Stroking my chin thoughtfully, I attempted to comprehend the concept Leo was trying to convey, but I still couldn't understand it. Observing the visible confusion on my face, Leo strengthened his posture and raised his sword high above his head. Swisher! With a decisive step forward, he brought his sword down in a powerful swing. I must have seen Leo swinging his sword countless times by now, and each time I found his technique and precision to be captivatingly beautiful. However, in all my time spent with him, I had never seen him swing his sword with such a broken bar pain. His swing wasn't clean and precise like usual. Instead, it was now replaced by a much more raw and bold style. His technique was still there, but it carried a distinct alternation. His movements were cold, and he appeared to be in genuine pain. I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like he was hungry, desperate to find food, and ready to devour the very world itself or broken bar. I see, so this is what he meant earlier. I have to imbue my weapon with the essence of hunger. As I reached that realization, Leo continued his relentless display of swordplay, executing a series of slashes, stabs, and skillful footwork. His each strike carried the unmistakable presence of pain and the chilling agony of hunger. After approximately 11 swings, Leo pulled back his sword and prepared for the final strike. Drawing in a deep breath, he stepped in front of a massive boulder. The mana surrounding his sword twisted and churned, crackling with energy as tendrils of scarlet electricity flickered around the blade. Even his sword looked like it was in hunger. After his preparations were done, Leo unleashed a horizontal slash with a step forward. The boulder shattered into countless pieces as a visible crack split through its center. However, before those chunks could even fall and touch the ground, Leo swiftly raised his sword high and transitioned into a vertical slash, driving his sword downward. He then immediately followed it with a rapid succession of 2 cross-shaped slashes aimed at the boulder. The swirling mana and the vivid scarlet lightning emanating from Leo's blade pulverized the boulder with each swing he performed with his sword. In the end, the previously huge boulder was reduced to nothing but fine dust, crushed by his sword. So cool! I couldn't contain my excitement and exclaimed aloud with stars in my eyes. That was so cool. I know, Leo responded with a smug grin. Do you understand now? I nodded eagerly. Can I give it a try? Of course. Leo granted permission. Study the scroll and attempt to replicate the movements you just observed. All right. I nodded once more and unfurled the scroll before starting to read its contents. After dedicating around an hour to reading and understanding the scroll, I grasped the basics of this weapon art. With determination, I picked up my spear, clutching it tightly, and closed my eyes. The essence required to execute this weapon art is hunger, but what exactly is hunger? Is it the exhaustion I feel due to lack of food? Is it the frustration and anger that builds within me when I witness others indulging in food while I starve? Or is it the gut-wrenching pain I feel when my belly twists and churns as if it were trying to eat itself? The answer is a broken bar. All of the above and even more. Hunger is a driving force. It is a feeling that compels us to take action. After all, it is the fear of hunger that pushes us to work, earn a living, and secure food. Without hunger, We would have no purpose, whether it be physical hunger for food or metaphorical hunger for revenge, power, or any other aspiration. Hunger is a path that leads to empowerment. In hunger, I feel pain, and in pain, I find strength. Infusing my spear with a dense layer of mana, I fluttered open my eyes. The mana twisted and churned around my weapon, causing the surrounding air to crackle with intensity. This sensation mirrored the chilling emptiness I'd been feeling in my stomach. Starvation. That's the way, Lucas. Leo's voice echoed in my ears, although my focus was somewhere else. Devour the world. Tendrils of scarlet electricity began to manifest around my spear, as I raised my spear above my head. Let's go. Yawning and rubbing his eyes before tying his long red hair into a bun, Leo trudged uphill, his boots sinking into the snow with each step he took. Climbing a snow mountain like this one wasn't a big deal for Leo. In fact, he could climb this entire snow mountain range in a heartbeat if he wanted to, but right now, it was early morning and he was sleepy. Being an early morning person had never been Leo's cup of tea. The thought of engaging in rigorous physical activity like climbing a mountain at the crack of dawn was nothing but a drag for him. He would much rather be inside his tent, wrapped in the warmth of his bed and relishing a few extra moments of blissful sleep. So, what drove him to climb this mountain at 7:00 a.m. in the morning? Well, obviously his disciple is to blame for everything. While Leo was peacefully dozing off, his disciple took it upon himself to sneak away and hunt the ice claw bear pack residing at the peak of this mountain. Basically, he wanted a revenge match with them. Eth macron ethsz eth squared eth on tilde micro eth dot cth 1/4 meter. In reality, Leo was aware that his disciple was sneaking away, but he chose not to stop him for two reasons. Firstly, Leo believed that Lucas was now prepared to take those mana beasts on by himself, within a single day. His silver-haired disciple had achieved a 20% mastery of the Scarlet Demon devouring art. While he still wasn't as strong as Leo would want him to be, this degree of proficiency was more than enough to vanquish those low-level mana beasts. And secondly, a broken bar. Leo simply didn't want to disturb his own sleep. Anyway, when Lucas ran off to hunt down those ice claw bears, the echoes of battle and explosions resonated throughout the tranquil morning in the mountain range. Naturally, Leo heard them and didn't give it much thought until now. A broken bar. Right now, all sounds had ceased. No screams, explosions, or sounds of combat could be heard. The southern mountain range was silent. Of course, from time to time, Leo checked on his disciple using his spatial perception to see if he was okay, and currently, Leo was on his way to check up on Lucas in person. After around 5 minutes, Leo reached the top of the mountain. Well, damn, there he saw a gruesome sight. Instead of seeing Lucas, all that lay before him were dead bodies sprawled on the ground and an eerie stillness. Dozens of ice claw bears lay scattered, their corpses displaying the aftermath of a merciless onslaught. It wasn't just death that they experienced, it was a massacre. Their bodies looked like they were pulverized by a crushing force. Some of them had severed limbs while others had their guts spilling out. Some had their head burst open while others weren't even recognizably. The previously moon-white snow was now tainted by the spilled blood and entrail remains. Leo casually walked through the carnage, making sure to avoid stepping on the gruesome remains of the beasts' guts, severed limbs, and lifeless bodies strewn across his path. He, of course, knew what happened here. How could he not? This gruesome sight was the result of the very weapon art that Leo taught Lucas just yesterday. There was no mistaking it. What happened to these ice claw bears could only be done by the Scarlet Demon devouring art. This specific weapon art requires the wielder to coat their weapon with mana, causing it to twitch and wrench it around the weapon violently. This can cause the air itself to crackle and manifest as tendrils of electricity around the weapon, a result of the surrounding air being compressed into plasma under intense mana pressure. When an attack is dealt from a weapon under that much mana pressure, it crushes whatever physical object it comes in contact with. Leo taught it to Lucas since this weapon art was very similar to Blossom Shattering Blast, which he has already learned. While the Blossom Shattering Blast emphasized speed and agility, the Scarlet Demon Devouring art focused on power to deliver devastating blows that could leave a trail of destruction. However, what confused Leo was how Lucas managed to perform the Scarlet Demon Devouring art with such remarkable proficiency. He was certain that this level of destruction couldn't have been achieved with a mere 20% mastery. It would at least require a mastery level of 40% or higher to be able to cause so much devastation. Did Lucas really make such significant progress in a single night? As I thought, Leo couldn't help but grin, mirth visible in his eyes. This kid truly is interesting. Reynold must have gone blind not to recognize such talent. Ha ha ha. Using his spatial perception, Leo found the boy he was searching for after walking for a few minutes. There he was, atop a hill of ice claw bears, corpses that loomed high above Leo's head sat a silver-haired boy. His merlot red eyes struggled to remain open, heavy with exhaustion. His arms rested on the hilt of his gleaming red spear, its red crystal blade shimmering dimly beneath the layer of blood that had come from the body of the ice claw bear it had been embedded in. Scattered amidst this mountain of carcasses lay even more lifeless bodies of ice claw bears. Some of those dead bodies were scorched, others looked as if they were crushed under intense pressure, and a few were impaled through their skulls or hearts by the silver-haired boy's spear. Lucas, Leo called out to his disciple. The boy slowly opened his heavy eyes and gazed at his master. "Do I look cool?" he asked with a smug grin. "Yes," Leo replied with a chuckle. "Are you injured anywhere?" "No," Lucas said, jumping down from his throne of corpses and landing in front of his master. "But I'm feeling tired." "It's mana exhaustion." Leo nodded, scrutinizing Lucas and lightly patting his body to check for any hidden or internal injuries. "You've depleted your mana core to its limit." Leo summoned a few vials filled with green liquid in his hand and handed them to Lucas, instructing him to drink them. Yeah. Lucas waved his hand dismissively, seemingly uninterested in what Leo was saying. "Can we eat them now, can we?" Lucas pointed at the corpses of the ice claw mana bears that he had hunted or rather, massacred. "Oh, dear." Leo glanced between where Lucas was pointing and back at him, his expression troubled. He couldn't bring himself to tell the boy that none of the game he had hunted was in a condition to be properly skinned, cut, or cooked. Those that were usable were buried under other corpses, covered in guts, blood, and filth. Leo let out a sigh and redirected his attention to Lucas. "How about we go to a restaurant instead? Status name me a Lucas Morningstar Racer human _strength 92, plus 30, endurance 108, plus 60, speed 99, plus 30, stamina 124, plus 50, accuracy 88, charm 440, intelligence 188, mana capacity 322 1,000ths mana core rank bronze 1 mana core potential a gold 3 professions a spearman LVL 3, plus 1, vertical bar archer LVL 2 technique a weapon arts 1000 falling lightning needle strike LVL 198%. 6 movement lance style, blossom shattering blast, LVL 387%. 12 movements scarlet demon devouring art, LVL 442%. Combat arts, soul smashing killer fist, LVL 275%. Breathing technique, breath of vitality _affinity of fire, lightning vertical bar light spells fireball, low, vertical bar zap touch, low, vertical bar fire lance, high, blessing mana burst possessions phoenix's embrace, semi-divine, vertical bar editor's pen, divine, vertical bar the bringer of lost flames, legendary, edit points 286 board. I interlocked my fingers and rested my chin on top of them while staring at my status screen. Undoubtedly, I had grown stronger. Leo not only taught me a level 4 weapon art, but he also gifted me a legendary ranked spear. I also acquired a high-tier magic spell and learned how to utilize basic martial aura. Even my spearman profession had leveled up. If I have to venture a guess, I might now be on par with main characters like William or Amelia in terms of physical stats and battle prowess alone. Soon, when my mana beast egg will hatch, I will surpass them and reach the same heights as Quinn and Anastasia, even without relying on embrace discard. Yes, no matter how I may look at it, agreeing to become this jerk's disciple and coming on this trip was a wise decision. Although I was almost starved to death, thrown off a cliff, beaten to death, and beaten to death again and again, the results were undoubtedly worth it. What are you looking at? Leo's voice startled me, pulling me out of my deep thoughts. I lifted my head and faced him. After climbing down a southern mountain range, we arrived at a nearby city, following a bit of walking and a lot of crying. Yes, I was the one crying because of hunger. We stumbled upon a nice, cozy restaurant. We hurriedly entered it without wasting a second. Right now, we were occupying a seat near the wall, patiently waiting for our food to be prepared, while I ignored the curious and disgusted glances directed towards me. Yes, people were staring at me. Why were they staring at me, one might ask? Well, part of the reason was the smudges of blood on my clothes and face, which made me look like a murderer. The other reason was the loud growling noise coming from my stomach, which could very well be mistaken as the roar of a mana beast. Hey, these people had no right to judge me. They had no idea what kind of hell I had been through. They don't know how much sheer willpower it's taking for me to resist the temptation of delicious food. I can barely hold myself back from lunging at other people's plates. Oh, nothing, I'm just checking my status screen, I replied after staring back at some of the people who were looking at me. They quickly averted their eyes, probably scared by the way I looked at them with blood smeared on my face. I see, Leo nodded. Are you satisfied with your progress? Yes, I responded eagerly, offering a slight bow of respect. I couldn't have made such strides on my own in such a short time. I am truly grateful, Master. Leo chuckled in response. Don't give me all the credit. It was your resilience that allowed you to endure 4 weeks of starvation. I must admit, your mental strength surprised even me. Hearing him acknowledging my efforts, I grinned and rubbed the back of my neck. However, Leo's tone turned serious in the next moment. But don't get too comfortable, he said. By the end of your first academic year, I will shape you into an unparalleled fighter. To achieve that, you'll have to endure even more hellish trials than the one you've just passed, so be prepared. Even more hellish than this? Huh? Wait, is he actually planning to kill me? But then again, as weird as his methods may be, they had proven effective. If he hadn't starved me for so many weeks straight, I would have never mastered the Scarlet Demon devouring art. So after understanding that, I ultimately nodded back. Seeing this, a smile played on his lips. But that's a matter for later, Leo said, his tone returning to normal. For now, tell me, what reward would you like? Everything on the menu, I blurted out without hesitation. You've already ordered everything on the menu, Leo responded, a mixture of amusement and resignation on his face. That's why they're taking so long to prepare the food. Then let's order everything again, so they'll have to hurry, I suggested. I don't think that's how cooking works. Leo shook his head, a look of exasperation crossing his face. Anyway, I was referring to the reward I promised you upon your successful hunt. Oh, that, I exclaimed, clapping my hands together as I remembered. All right, I want to learn how you create those illusionary clones. Leo stifled another chuckle and said, it's called Mirage Walk, but are you sure you want to learn that? Yes, I affirmed. It seems like a good technique for disguising one's true body and movements. It would be a great help when I'll be facing multiple opponents. Leo raised an eyebrow. Are you planning to fight someone? Remember, I mentioned that I'll be facing someone during the King's tournament. I reminded him. Well, he happens to have a lot of friends. Leo frowned. And just who is this person, exactly? I hesitated for a moment. Should I disclose his identity? I thought. However, For some reason, I felt like I could trust him, even if he is associated with Spider, even if he may be an enemy I'll have to face in the future. Perhaps, for now, I could trust him. With a nod, I revealed, his name is Kai Wiseman. That guy? Leo frowned. Oh yeah, he's strong. You're aware of that? I raised my eyebrows. Yeah, Leo shrugged. I don't know how he managed to hide his rankings from Athena, but he can't fool my eyes. He hid his rankings? What? I frowned, visibly puzzled. Oh, yeah, I was suspicious of him, so I ordered the Academy AI to check his status and background, but the report I received didn't explain the strength he possesses. Leo responded, he's hiding his true strength. If I had to guess, he's only slightly weaker than that guy in your class, Nero. Huh? Only slightly weaker than Nero? Damn, I knew he was strong since he defeated Quinn, but I didn't expect Kai to be that strong. So, do I stand a chance against him? I asked, swallowing hard. In terms of pure physical strength? No, Leo replied bluntly, but you possess a divine rank armor, a legendary rank spear, a sharp strategic mind, and some good weapon arts. I'm willing to bet you have a few hidden aces up your sleeve as well. If you play your cards right, then yes, you can match him. Whether you can defeat him or not will depend on you. I see, I mused, rubbing my chin, lost in thoughts until Leo spoke up again. Remember, technique is always superior to brute strength, he emphasized. Not many individuals can successfully hunt a pack of mana beasts only a rank lower than their own without sustaining any injuries. You achieved that because your technique surpasses theirs. Remember what I taught you. The world around me is chaos. The technique is my sanctuary. I finished his sentence, reciting the words he ingrained in me. The only thing that should exist is the form, the technique. Excellent. Leo nodded, a satisfied smile gracing his face. And here comes our food. As the waiters arrived with our food, a sweet and spicy aroma filled the air, momentarily distracting me from our conversation. Plates upon plates of delicious dishes were placed before us, each one more tempting than the last. My stomach growled with anticipation, eager to indulge in this well-deserved feast. Leo observed my reaction with amusement, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Enjoy your meal, my dear disciple. You've earned it. With a nod of gratitude, I dug into the delectable spread before me, savoring every bite. The flavors exploded on my tongue, and I felt warm in my stomach, providing me relief from the pain and cold of hunger that I had grown accustomed to by now. After chuckling at the way I was stuffing my mouth like a squirrel, Leo also had a bite or two from the variety of dishes before us. As we continued to enjoy our meal, snippets of conversation from nearby tables caught our attention. By the way, have you heard? What? Rumor has it that a first-year cadet from the Global Military Academy has the gift that allows him to fully control the basic elements. What nonsense? Wouldn't a gift like that make you a god? Well, yeah, it's a godlike power, for real. According to the sources, he can summon a sword and control an element without any restrictions. The gossipers fell into a brief silence. The very thought of someone possessing such an incredible gift seemed almost unfathomable. Well, I don't believe it, but if it's true, then it'll surely be a wonder of the world. A gift like that could make him a national treasure. As I refocused my attention on the food before me, Leo interjected with a question. Are they referring to the same boy in your class, Nero? Yes, I replied, nodding in affirmation. Leo, his hand resting on his chin, pondered aloud. How are these rumors spreading beyond the confines of the global city? I must address this matter to the Academy. I wanted to stop Leo in his tracks. I wanted to tell him that it doesn't matter anymore. Don't waste your efforts. Why? Because these rumors must have already reached the ears of the vampires, and by now, they might even be preparing to launch an attack on the Academy during the upcoming King's Tournament. I don't have much time left. In a week, first semester exams will start, and after the exams, the King's Tournament will commence. At most, I have around a month and a half. We returned to the global city 2 days ago. I was tired, understandably so. After freshening up, I ate everything I could find in the apartment, even the junk and packaged food that I don't usually enjoy. After that, I fell asleep. A broken bar. That was a blunder. There's a term for what happened to me after that, a digestive system shock. Essentially, when we eat a lot after a long period of starvation, our digestive system struggles to handle the sudden influx of food. It takes time for our digestive enzymes to adjust to the increased workload. This can lead to a lot of other things like cramping and pain in the belly, heartburn, nausea, vomiting, and even diarrhea. And naturally, since the shock to my digestive system was so big, I experienced every single thing mentioned above. That's the reason why when we went to the restaurant, Leo didn't let me finish everything I ordered. I knew why he was stopping me and what could happen if I suddenly ate a lot of food after being hungry for 4 weeks. However, after coming back to my apartment, where no one was to stop me, I succumbed to the temptation and ate everything I had. What else could have happened after that? My body forcefully pushed out the food I had stuffed into it, escaping through every possible exit. Sounds disgusting, right? Well, it was. It was disgusting. Believe me, it was absolutely revolting. I couldn't even go to the academy, because of my absence. Leo personally made his way to my apartment to check on my well-being. Upon witnessing my pitiful state, he let out a disappointed sigh and shot me a glare that screamed, "I told you so." He then threw me some quick health recovery potions. Just for reference, health recovery potions are incredibly expensive. They can cure almost any ailment. They can even temporarily suspend menstruation for women, which was its goal from the start, since the United Military couldn't afford to have numerous female soldiers unable to perform at their peak for 7 days every month. Anyway, I'm digressing from the story, right? So I gratefully took those potions and quickly consumed them. Almost instantly, I sensed my condition improving. While I could have created my own health recovery potions with the edit pen, I'm running low on edit points at the moment, so I need to save them up. Besides, an incident like this gave me a quick reminder that even though I'm in a different world, blessed with inhuman speed and supernatural strength fueled by mana, at the core, I'm still just a human. FFTM section F''FSZF Sedilla EFSF middle.OF middle.FSZF apostrophe.coeths. Ha. Anyway, Leo mentioned that he already submitted my leave application to the academy. He assured me that I won't face any repercussions for the days I was absent. When I asked him what reason he gave for my absence, Leo mentioned that he simply stated we had gone somewhere together. I snapped at him. I told him he shouldn't have said that, as it might lead to gossip, and someone might speculate that he has taken me as his disciple. If such rumors were to reach Kai's ears, my entire plan would veer off course. In response to my outburst, Leo calmly uttered but a single sentence: "Would you rather prefer being subjected to a punitive training drill under Instructor Matterhorn's supervision?" At those words, I was rendered speechless. Yeah, I'd rather have Kai know about my plan than endure training under that maniac, and that pretty much sums up the past 2 days, bringing me back to the present moment. Hey, there he is. Are the rumors true? Has Leo taken him as his disciple? Impossible. We're talking about Leo Kurogami here. Why would he choose someone like him, a talentless good-for-nothing, as his first disciple? Yeah, I mean, sure, he may have a high intelligence score, but his physical abilities are laughable. Leo, the brilliant fighter who has never taken on a disciple before, won't pick him. Well, you might be right, but my father once told me that Leo Kurogami and the Morningstar family were comrades. Maybe he took Lucas in because he's a Morningstar, you know? Oh, I had no idea about that, so that's why Lucas ended up under Leo's wing? Damn nepotism, these nobles, argh. I can't stand them. Dude, relax. Even if he got in through nepotism, there's no way he can keep up with Leo's training. He'll never be able to match him. As I walked through the corridors of the academy after my absence of 4 weeks and 1 day, I couldn't help but notice the glaring looks and hushed conversations happening around me. Their reactions were expected. I would have been surprised if I hadn't garnered at least this much attention. For a seasoned fighter like Leo to take on a disciple is a big deal. Taking a disciple is different from just accepting students. It signifies something much more profound. A disciple is not merely a student. They are entrusted with carrying the torch of their master's legacy and keeping it alive even after their master passes away. It's a lifelong commitment and a sacred bond that surpasses mere instruction or teaching. Taking a disciple represents the passing of wisdom, knowledge, and skills from one generation to the next. The master becomes not only a teacher but also a mentor, guide, and a wellspring of inspiration. In return, the disciple becomes a vessel for the master's wisdom, a custodian of their techniques, and a source of pride. As I mentioned earlier, it's a big deal. That is especially the case for living legends like Liz Snyder, Leo Kurogami, or even my own father, Reynold Morningstar. So naturally, when the rumors about one of these revered legends taking someone like me as their disciple start to circulate, reactions like these are to be expected. But it wasn't their gossip that caught my attention. No, it was something else entirely. Among their murmurs, I overheard someone mentioning that the Morningstar family and Leo Kurogami were comrades. What's that all about? I'm not aware of anything like that based on my knowledge of the novel and the memories in my head. I muttered quietly to myself. I should talk to Leo about it as soon as I see him again. Is he really connected with the Morningstars? Perhaps it could be something connected to the false memories planted in my head. Lucas, just as I was lost in my thoughts, I heard someone calling out my name, stretching it out. Arak. Before I could even turn around, I felt someone leaping onto my back, wrapping their arms tightly around my neck and chest. Who else could it be but Kent? Get off me, you idiot. We'll both fall down like this, I exclaimed, trying to steady myself while attempting to pry him off. Where were you? What the? Are you crying? And sure enough, he was indeed crying. Tears streamed down his cheeks, his nose running as well. Disgusting, yet oddly amusing. Rolling my eyes, a smile tugged at the corners of my lips. I managed to get a hold of him and pulled him in front of me. There, I said, patting his head as he continued to sniffle like a puppy. If he had a tail, it would be wagging right now. This guy. Aren't elves supposed to be prideful? Shaking my head, I couldn't help but smile as I succeeded in calming Kent down. Where were you? Hig, Kent asked, stuttering through his sniffles, but suddenly, his eyes widened. Wait, have you heard? Rumor has it that you are Leo's disciple now, is it true? He asked. I guess. I rubbed my chin, contemplating, but first, let me ask you something. How? Before I could proceed with my question, another voice, this one deeper and more commanding, called out to me. Lucas, furrowing my brow and recognizing the voice, I turned around to face its source. It was Quinn. Why is he here? Kent grumbled, glaring daggers in Quinn's direction. I need to talk to him, I replied. About what? Kent inquired, curiosity evident in his expression. Don't worry about it for now, I waved my hand dismissively. Head to class, I'll catch up with you later and fill you in. Reluctantly, Kent nodded and left, leaving me to have my talk with Quinn. I can sense that you've grown stronger, Quinn remarked. Huh? You can tell? I responded with a hint of surprise in my voice. Quinn looked at me for a few seconds, as if gauging me before replying. I've told you before, shadows don't lie. Yeah, whatever that means, weirdo. Currently, Quinn and I stood on the terrace of our academy tower. It was my first time visiting this place, and I must say, the terrace was huge. Since we were at so much height, we could see a breathtaking view of the sprawling global city from here. Since the class was about to start, not many people were here right now. Mew God, you're so sexy, call me daddy. No, I'm not into that, you fatty, but you still want me to buy you the designer purse, right? Yes, daddy, of course. The emphasis is on many. I could still clearly see, and unfortunately hear, a few individuals who were here right now. Most of them seemed to be couples who had a free first period and had chosen to spend their time by coming here and doing the cringy stuff that couples do. So, why are we here? I asked, looking around. I highly doubt you've brought me to this terrace to propose. Curling up his upper lip, Quinn groaned and shot me a disgusted glare in response to my obvious joke. He took a few steps away from me to the boundary and turned to face the city view. Ff macron eth squared eth apostrophe eth tms eth s eth section on tilde micro eth superscript 1 I diaresis 1/4 z eth apostrophe eth 1/4 meter o. Come on, it was just obviously a joke. I don't swing that way, and even if I did, you're too ugly to be my type, is what I wanted to say, but in the end, I decided to hold my tongue and not throw my life away today. He's become suspicious of you, you know? Quinn spoke up after a few seconds of awkward silence following my failed attempt at humor. Kai? I raised an eyebrow, urging him to continue. Yes, Quinn nodded, his gaze still fixed on the bustling city below us. Ever since the rumor about Leo taking you as his disciple started spreading, Kai has become increasingly wary of you. All right then, do something to stall him, I suggested casually. It's not that simple, Quinn snapped, turning to face me. He's on guard now, and Grace, with her habit of blabbering about you at every opportunity, isn't helping matters either. All right, then I'll redirect his attention towards someone else, I responded. I'll frame someone and expose them as the mastermind of our class to Kai. No, that won't help, Quinn shook his head. During the 4 weeks you were absent, Kai personally investigated every cadet in our class. He even instigated conflicts to gather information. If the mastermind were to reveal themselves now that you've returned, Kai's suspicions of you would only grow. He would ignore the decoy and come directly after you. He's not as foolish as you may think. I let out a sigh. Yeah, I had thought that would be the case. Well, it seems we're out of options, I shrugged. Huh? What do you mean? Quinn furrowed his brow, confused. I've done everything I could, I replied. Some unexpected variables emerged and ruined my plans of staying under Kai's radar. There's nothing more we can do about it. So what will you do now? Quinn inquired. What else can I do? In 4 days, our semester exams will begin. After that, it will be the King's tournament. That's when I will crush him. Basically, I just need to hide from him for 4 days. But still, Quinn raised his voice. That means you've lost the element of surprise. Your plan of attack failed. I turned to face Quinn. As I said, there's nothing more we can do about it. I'll face him head on. Quinn looked at me as if I were a madman planning to fight a pack of lions with bare hands. Are you out of your mind? Quinn snapped once again. You're speaking so confidently because you have no idea how strong and merciless Kai can be. I can see that you've grown stronger, and maybe the rumors about you being Leo's disciple are true. But you can still not defeat Kai. Suppressing a scoff, I replied. Why don't you sit back and enjoy the show instead of making predictions about who will win? Yeah? Quinn studied up and down me for a moment before stating, you know, if I were to call Kai right now and inform him about you, he might forgive me for my previous betrayal. Meeting his gaze, I asked, all right, so will you do it? I will do whatever I must to protect Shiyu, Quinn declared. Kai is aware of her existence. If I go against him, he will expose her existence to the academy. The only reason I chose to associate myself with you is because I gave you my word. I finished his sentence. I will keep your secret safe and make sure that no harm ever comes to Shiyu. I will also bring an end to the war. We locked eyes for a brief moment, and I assured him, and I will honor my word. I will do as I said. A troubled expression spread across Quinn's face as I pressed on. However, if you truly believe that betraying me and siding yourself with Kai, a person who couldn't care less about your goals, is a better choice, then go ahead. Having said what I wanted to say, I turned on my heels and started making my way towards the terrace door, leaving Quinn to sort out his thoughts and ponder over my words. But just as I was about to reach the door, I halted my steps and glanced back over my shoulder, meeting Quinn's gaze with icy coldness. I spoke in a callous tone. Oh, and one more thing, it's not only Kai you should fear. As I've mentioned before, I possess concrete evidence of Shiyu's existence. If you dare to ever betray me, I will not hesitate to send it to the authorities myself. At that moment, Quinn's eyes widened in disbelief. He stared at me as realization hit him. Now he understood the position he was in, caught between a rock and a hard place. It's his fault for not expecting something like this from the start in the first place. He can't lose Shia. If the Academy authorities were to know about her, they would make Quinn erase her. The only two people who know about her existence are at war with each other. If he were to make one wrong move, they would alert the authorities and Quinn would lose Shia again for the final time. Basically, he'll have to keep on playing from both sides, serving both Kai and me until we both clash. Before we both clash, he'll have to predict who'll win and bet on the winning horse. If he sides with the wrong person and they lose, the winner will call him out for his betrayal and punish him by unraveling his secret for the world. Not only that, but if he's found out by Kai that he's betraying him, his secret would be revealed, and if he triggers me like he almost did today or tries to double-cross me, I will also reveal his secret. Understood what I'm saying? I asked, my tone growing colder. Quinn responded with a silent nod. Yes, no matter how he may try to look at it, he's fucked. It all comes down to him predicting the winner, and siding with him, and if he's as smart as I give him the credit for, he'll pick me. With only around 4 days remaining until the commencement of our first semester exams, most of our class periods were free, except for the first one. Once Liz concluded her class, we were left to spend the second and third periods as we pleased. However, the air in Class 1A1 was filled with the sound of pencils scratching on paper, as everyone diligently tried to study as hard as they could. Some cadets headed to the library, while others with connections begged and cried in front of the upperclassmen to share their notes from their previous year. Amidst the mass panic, I remained seated calmly. In front of me, an open book about mana theory and its scientific applications was laying, though I wasn't actually reading it. In truth, my attention was elsewhere. Beneath the desk, I was tightly holding a sling bag in my grasp. One of my hands was inside the bag and I was channeling my mana into it. Yes, anyone could easily guess what was in the bag, right? My mythical mana beast egg. I had kept my mythical mana beast egg inside it and brought it with me to the academy, and right now, I was infusing it with my mana. I understand the risks involved, but I had no other choice. During my training sessions with Leo, the mana beast egg did not receive any mana from me. As a result, its hatching process has already been significantly delayed. Eth cubed eth broken bar eth macron full eth based on my earlier estimation, the egg would have hatched by now if I had been consistently supplying it with mana on a daily basis. However, I couldn't do it. My guess is that it would take approximately a month and a half to hatch it if I push myself to exhaustion every day. That means the egg will barely hatch around the time our semester exams are over. That's fine, it will be right around the time the King's tournament starts, and I can still manage that. Ugh, this is so boring. Why do we even need to remember all this stuff anyway? As I was deep in my thoughts, from my right, a gorgeous brunette expressed her frustration with a groan. I stole a quick glance at her before looking away. It was Ella Bright. If that name doesn't ring a bell, then let me remind you that she's Grace Goodwill's best friend, or at least she was until the mock war. I have no idea what transpired between them after that, but it appears their relationship is still rocky, which works just fine for me. Sooner or later, being in isolation, being an outcast, and being without any comrades by her side would catch up to Grace. She would inevitably reach a breaking point, and that's when I would step in, acting as the big man, extending a helping hand to her out of the sheer kindness in my heart. I mean, I understand why it's important, but it's just way too much. I get why we need to study mana theory and all, but why on earth do we have to deal with math in it? We're going to be soldiers, not mana engineers, for heaven's sake. The brown-haired girl right next to me continued to mutter to herself. Interesting, I never knew she had a habit of talking to herself. It wasn't mentioned in the novel. I should make a note of it. Hey, why are you staring? Huh, me? Yeah, you. I glanced around to confirm if Ella was indeed talking to me, and indeed, she was. While she was lost in her self-dialogue, I had absent-mindedly started gazing at her. Right now, Ella occupied the seat right beside mine. We were sitting in the last row, with only a few cadets present around us, most of the main characters, some unnamed extras, and even my blue-haired elven friend, Kent, were at the library to study. Considering the situation and my reputation, I must have come out as creepy. Quickly, I stood up, took a few steps to the side, and created some distance between us before settling back down. Sorry, it's just unusual to see someone talking to themselves so lively, I responded. PFTT, Ella stifled a chuckle. Well, it's become a habit of mine, is that so? I replied, feeling perplexed as to why she was still talking to me. But why did you skip a seat and move over there? Ella inquired. Before I could conjure up an excuse, the brunette let out a brief laugh. Are you trying to avoid a situation here? She remarked, seemingly amused by something. I gazed at her, uncertain of what to say, until finally uttering You're aware of my reputation, right? Haha, of course, Ella nodded, a smile playing on her lips, but I must admit, you're quite different in person than what those rumors make you out to be. Is that so? I raised an eyebrow. I've been trying to improve myself lately, I can see that, Ella replied, and you're doing a good job. You even risked your life to protect civilians during the vampire incident at the masquerade party. That's admirable. While it won't erase your past, the very fact that you're striving to improve and make amends is evidence enough that you deserve a second chance. So don't worry, Morningstar, I won't report you for staring. Haha. Feeling a mix of embarrassment and confusion, I let out a chuckle, still a bit puzzled. Once again, why was she talking so much? Wait, her broken barrow, right, now I remember. Ella Bright was called the goddess of justice in the novel. On many occasions, she always sided with the cause of righteousness. She had a strict moral code and followed it to her utmost best. She strongly believed that justice should be served to all, regardless of their status or circumstances. In accordance with that, she also firmly stood by the notion that everyone deserves a second chance. If someone had committed a forgivable offense and was now sincerely repenting and making amends, they should not be crucified for their past actions. According to her, there was no greater justice than allowing someone the opportunity to change for the good. Perhaps this is why she has recognized my efforts to improve. Maybe that's why she is talking to me and engaging in a normal conversation. I see now. Oh, is that Humana theory book? Are you well versed in that subject? Ella peered at the textbook opened on my desk. Well, I guess. I shrugged. Ooh, great. Ella clapped her hands together and inched closer to me, displaying her notebook. Could you help me solve this confined pressure chamber mana equilibrium equation using trigonometric terms? She asked, scratching the back of my neck. I examined the problem scribbled on her rough notebook and turned towards her. You're familiar with the basics of mana equilibrium theory, right? I inquired. Mana always returns to its natural form, whether it's used for spellcasting or energy creation. She gave me a questioning look to confirm her answer. In response, I stared at her blankly for a few seconds before shaking my head. No. That's the law of mana preservation, eh? Aren't those the same thing? Ella pondered, touching her chin with her index finger. Thank goodness she's good at fighting because she's downright dumb in academics. Okay, listener, hey, just as I was about to explain the concept to Ella, a booming voice interrupted us from behind. I turned to identify the source and came face to face with a boy of similar height, sporting slicked-back golden hair and matching eyes. He glared at me with seething anger in his eyes. Is he bothering you? He directed his question to Ella. No. Before she could answer, he swiftly turned his attention to me and grabbed my collar. How dare you? He roared. The few students present in the class diverted their attention to our commotion in the back row. What's your problem, dude? I scowled. Hey, I said he's not bothering me. Ella intervened, snatching the golden-haired boy's hand and forcibly removing it from my collar. I thought her before the boy could utter another word. Ella cut him off. I don't care what you thought, she snapped. Besides, even if I had a problem, do you honestly believe I would need your help, you, who is weaker than me despite coming from the right family? Her words seemed to strike a nerve as the golden-haired boy gritted his teeth, eyeing the brunette beauty furiously. TSK. However, instead of further escalating the situation, the boy redirected his piercing gaze at me and then walked away, muttering something at me that I didn't bother to listen to. What's his problem? I voiced my confusion. As Ella settled back into her seat, she responded, don't you remember? That's the guy from the right family whom you piss off on our introduction day. Oh, right, Chris Wright, I exclaimed, slapping my hand against my palm. How could I have forgotten about the young master I had provoked? It's strange, as I'm not one to easily forget faces. Why did he slip from my memory? My memory was never so sloppy. I've been experiencing stuff like this a lot recently. Could it be because I'm exhausted, trying to solve larger and more pressing problems than him, like saving the fucking world? Wait, is he still holding a grudge? I furrowed my brow. Apparently. Also, he's now part of Kai's group of young elites, Ella disclosed. His confidence skyrocketed after joining them. He even had some heated arguments with Nero, Anastasia, Amelia, Elijah, and William. Yes, in the novel, he did cause trouble for the protagonist and his group after joining the young elites. It looks like I missed out on some events during my absence. Well, it doesn't matter since those events weren't connected to me anyway, so, be careful. Now that he's part of that group, he might come after you, Ella warned. I was about to break his arm. Thankfully, I didn't do it and restrained myself. I'm sure that he's reporting everything that happens in our class to Kai. If I had made a move like breaking his arm, he would have reported it as well. Even though Kai is now wary of me, I still want to keep him on edge until the very end of my plan. Anyway, I brought my focus back to Ella. This conversation was taking quite an interesting turn. Let's see if I can pull something here. Hey, sorry if I'm prying, but aren't you also part of the young elites? I questioned. Why do you ask? Ella furrowed her brow. Well, you seemed close to Grace, and since she's still a member of that group, I assumed I trailed off as Ella shook her head. I did join initially. I thought it was just a regular friend group, and since most of us came from elite or noble backgrounds, it made sense to build connections. However, over time, I began to notice Kai's had some hidden agendas. I still stayed in it for a while because Grace didn't want to leave, but after the mock war, I realized that Kai had formed the group to get people who would do his bidding. I urged Grace to leave. I told her something wasn't right and that I had a bad feeling about Kai, but she didn't listen. Our fights escalated, and eventually, we stopped talking to each other. Ella let out a sigh. I see, I murmured, leaning back in my seat. So that's why Grace said that. She said what? Ella looked at me, perplexed. Oh, it's nothing, forget I mentioned it. I waved my hand dismissively. No, tell me. What did she say? Ella pressed. Well, I overheard Grace talking to Alberto once. She mentioned something about your sister, I confessed. Ella's face displayed a mixture of emotions after listening to me: as shock, confusion, alarm, and bewilderment. After a brief pause lasting for a few seconds, Ella spoke in a quivering voice, her mouth agape and eyes widened. She said, what about my sister? I glanced around the classroom to see if anyone was near us, feeling uneasy. Do I have to say it? I hesitated. Just tell me, she insisted, her voice filled with anxiety. Taking a deep breath, I reluctantly started speaking. She mentioned that your sister is currently in a coma-like state, suffering from minor whiplash. Grace said that if Kai can obtain a petal of the ambrose flower and offer it to you, you would join the young elites since you'd feel indebted to him. Ella's eyes widened further, and her lips trembled in disbelief. The fact that I knew such private information and was sharing it with her meant that I must have heard it directly from Grace. Why? Because Grace was the only person aide from her in this academy who knew about this. She really told him that? Ella asked, her voice filled with shock. Why would I lie? I responded. If you don't believe me, you can ask her yourself, although I highly doubt she would admit to revealing such personal information. Ella sat there, lost in a state of denial and shock, before abruptly standing up. I'm sorry, I have to go somewhere. We'll talk later. Morningstar. Yeah, see you later. I waved my hand as Ella made her way out of the classroom. As I watched her retreating figure, a faint smile crept onto my face. It was done. I couldn't help but feel sorry for Grace, but I had no other choice. She forced me to completely isolate herself. With that task completed, I shifted my attention back to the textbook in front of me, while channeling mana into the beast egg under the desk. The day came to an end, and the cadets made their way back to their apartments. As Ella was walking home, the words spoken by the silver-haired boy echoed constantly in her mind. She couldn't fathom how Grace could betray her like that. Even if they weren't talking these days, Ella still regarded Grace as a friend. Yet, Grace had the audacity to suggest choosing Ella's elder sister's illness as a bargaining tool. What kind of friend would stoop so low? Was Grace truly that desperate to gain favor with Kai? She was ready to betray her sister like to come into his good book? Shaking her head, Ella cleared her thoughts. It didn't matter. If their friendship held so little value to Grace, then Ella would stop caring about it herself. Ella. Just as the brunette beauty immersed herself in these thoughts, a familiar voice called out to her from behind. She swiftly turned her head to confirm the identity of the person calling her, and to no one's surprise, it was Grace. Turning her head back, Ella quickened her pace, purposefully ignoring the persistent calls of her name from behind. Ella, wait up. Finally, the blonde-haired girl caught up to Ella and firmly grasped her shoulder. In response, Ella shrugged her shoulder forcefully and turned around, fixing a fierce gaze upon Grace. Observing that intense expression, Grace furrowed her brow, slightly puzzled. Why is she so angry today? Grace couldn't help but wonder. What do you want? Ella snarled, taken aback by her tone. Grace responded, you know what? I've been apologizing for over 2 months now. Why are you still so angry? You know exactly why. Ella snapped. Oh, come on, Ella, it's my choice. You can't dictate who I should associate myself with. Grace snapped back. If that's how you see it, fine. I was only trying to watch out for you. Ella retorted. Watch out for me by forcing me to comply with your every demand? Grace questioned. Ella pinched the bridge of her nose. Look at yourself. You're covered in wounds and bruises. Even if you try to cover it up with makeup, it's clear that Kai is hurting you. I don't understand why you can't just leave that group if you're being treated this way. Is he blackmailing you? Is that what's happening? Hearing Ella's remark, Grace clenched her fists and lowered her gaze. She knew that her friend was right. Kai's temper was volatile. It wasn't just Grace who suffered his blows whenever he was angry. Anyone within his sight became a target of his frustration. A few weeks ago, when Kai interrogated Lucas to confirm whether he was the one Kai was looking for, Grace let her words flow more freely than she should have. The result of that was a brutal beating from Kai. The scars and bruises from that abuse still littered her body, still visible even though she tried to conceal them using makeup and long-sleeve clothes. However, despite it all, she couldn't bring herself to leave Kai's group. She wanted a future where she wouldn't be forced to go into war, a future where she wouldn't have to fight. Kai had promised her a position in the military that would secure that safe future. Being by his side was to be her ticket to that life. She couldn't just throw away this ticket. With a deep breath, Grace looked back at Ella, letting on a vulnerable smile. Ella, she called out her best friend's name. I'm not being forced or blackmailed by anyone. I'm in the young elites because I choose to be. I don't want to leave, but that doesn't mean we have to stop talking. All I want is my best friend back, so can we please start talking again? Can you be my best friend again? Ella stared at Grace, her eyes devoid of any emotion, as she bluntly stated, Number. ... Huh? Grace frowned, bewildered. What do you mean? I mean what I said, number. Ella reiterated firmly. Are you saying you don't want to be best friends with me anymore? Grace looked at Ella in disbelief. No, Grace, I'm saying I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Ella met Grace's gaze with cold indifference. Why? I've been apologizing every day. What have I done that you won't even talk to me? Have I committed some grave sin? Why are you treating me like this? I even stayed and fought during the masquerade party incident. You know how much I hate fighting, but I fought because you were there. I stood by your side, Grace snapped. Ella remained silent, watching her intently. Finally, when Grace finished her outburst, the brunette spoke, her voice calm yet cutting. I never asked you to do anything. I never asked you to fight alongside us. Besides, others fought as well. They risked their lives to protect the innocent. Unlike you, who had her own selfish motives, I had selfish motives, and what might those be? I was there because I wanted to fight alongside you. I was concerned about your safety, Grace retorted. No, Ella shook her head, gritting her teeth. You were there so in future you could remind me that you stayed behind for me, so you could make me feel indebted to you. I've figured you out now. I know what you did. What nonsense? Grace looked at Ella incredulously. What are you talking about? I know what you told Alberto. Don't try to deny it, Grace. You have broken my trust, Ella said, her voice filled with conviction, as she began to walk away. However, Grace grabbed her by the wrist, stopping her in her tracks. What are you saying? Explain. Yanking her hand free from Grace's grip, Ella turned around and shouted, You told him about my sister's situation. You said that if Kai could obtain the petal of ambrose flower, I would definitely join his little group. What? Grace tried to interject, confusion etched on her face, but Ella cut her off, not giving her a window to speak. You tried to use my sister as a bargaining chip. Ella slammed her hands against Grace's chest, pushing her backward. Ella, I don't understand her! Before Grace could continue speaking, Ella pushed her again. You betrayed my trust like this? Well, you should have known that even if Kai were to bring me the petal, I would never accept it from him. Ella, there's a misunderstanding. I don't understand what you're saying. Grace tried to calm her friend down, but her efforts only further infuriated Ella. Lucas overheard your conversation with Alberto. There's no way he could have known about my sister if someone who knew about her situation hadn't told him, Ella yelled. And aside from me, you're the only person who knows about Ava. Lucas? Grace's eyes widened. Ella had an elder sister named Ava. She is the heiress of the Bright family and on the path to becoming her father's successor, or at least she was until a few years ago. After completing her military training at the Ethereal Military Academy, Ava was deployed to the northern border. Her first mission was meant to be relatively safe, meant for rookie soldiers to handle with ease. However, something went terribly wrong. Ava and her team of 12 rookies, along with one supervisor, encountered a noble vampire. The supervisor sacrificed himself after a brief struggle, giving the rookies a chance to escape from the noble vampire, but after killing him, the noble vampire soon caught up to Ava's group. In the face of certain death, Ava made the decision to confront the noble vampire head-on, giving everything she had in the fight. During the intense battle, she pushed herself to the limits. Fortunately, with some luck and her top-notch skills, she managed to defeat the noble vampire in the end. However, the fight took a toll on her to the point where her mana core broke. As a result of that, Ava's body experienced a phenomenon known as mana whiplash, sending her into a deep comatose state. It had been around 3 years since the tragic incident, and the Bright family had managed to keep the news hidden from the public eye. Only a select few noble families in the eastern continent are aware of the truth. Although Grace was from a noble family in the western continent, she knew about this only because Ella had told her. They had been friends since childhood. They first met during one of the social gatherings attended by nobles when they were merely 5 years old. After that day, they continued their friendship online and started meeting in person as they grew older. By the time they turned 15, Grace would spend weeks at the Bright family's mansion. She forged a close friendship with Ella and also became intimately acquainted with their family affairs. She found the atmosphere at Ella's home much more pleasant compared to her own. In Grace's household, conversations between her family members were basically non-existent. However, in Ella's home, the atmosphere was light and welcoming. Over time, Grace started to view Ella's parents as her own and even began referring to Ava as Big Sis. So, when Ella told her about what happened to Ava, Grace was devastated. Why would she ever suggest choosing Ava as a bargaining chip for Ella? She thought of her as her own big sister. She didn't say anything like that to Alberto or anyone else. She didn't. But then a broken bar. How did Lucas come to know about it? Yes, Lucas belonged to a ruling family, but even the Morning Stars shouldn't be aware of this confidential information. However, thinking over this situation had to wait. Grace needed to clarify this misunderstanding with Ella. Ella! Grace tried to interject, but once again, Ella forcefully pushed her away. Tears started to stream down her face. "Don't ever talk to me," Ella screamed, walking away with clenched teeth. A broken bar number. Ella was not in a state to listen to reason right now. It was pointless to talk to her any further. As Ella walked away, Grace stood there, her shoulders slumped, her mind racing to explore every possible scenario that could explain how Lucas obtained this information. Fuck, Grace muttered under her breath, bringing her hand to her face in frustration. As I returned to my apartment, I couldn't help but hide the wide grin plastered on my face. Just as I thought, I mused out loud. The plan worked. On my way back, I overheard some people whispering about a drama unfolding between Grace and Ella. I didn't catch all the details, but it was clear that the two girls were fighting about something. This only meant that my plan was a success. Now, during the upcoming King's Tournament, Grace would be left without a single ally by her side. With a tired sigh, I fell onto my bed. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt for causing a rift in their friendship, but as I said before, I had no other choice. Besides, if this is all it takes to tear them apart, then perhaps they weren't that close to begin with. Anyway, I sighed again, sitting up straight and slipping out of my uniform. Putting on slacks and an undershirt, I did a little stretching for a few seconds before finally musing out loud. "I guess it's about time I should do something I've been putting off," I said, making my way to the cupboard. Opening the doors and reaching for the lowest drawer, I retrieved a collection of journal diaries that I had stored away. Let's start reading them. A few months ago, I came to the realization that the memories I had inherited from Lucas cannot be trusted. The memories implanted in my mind are false. They do not align with the events told to me by the people around me. After this realization, I also began to notice that my memories had gaps and missing fragments, like an incomplete puzzle. It is as if someone shattered a glass slab and tried to tape it back together by adding and removing certain shards. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that someone tampered with Lucas' mind during his childhood. However, I don't know the identity of the person responsible for it, neither do I know when did it happen. The logical course of action for me was to make my way to Wolfshire, the capital city of the Western continent. Wolfshire is the seat of power for one of the four ruling families, the Morning Stars, who oversee the Western continent as its overlords. Once there, my next destination would be the Wolfstone. It's the name of the Morning Star family mansion and Lucas' former residence. However, there was a little problem in my otherwise perfect plan. You see, I couldn't simply say, sayonara, and leave the global city. To exit this place, I need to have an academy-approved leave pass. To obtain a leave pass, I would have to formally request to leave, which, in turn, required me to have a valid reason for my absence, and obviously I don't have any valid reasons now, do I? I mean, after all, I couldn't just approach them and say, "Hey, I have reasons to believe that I have false memories planted in my head, therefore, I wish to return home and investigate this matter." Rather than granting me permission for absence, they would likely call me insane and send me to a mental asylum. Moreover, the authority to sanction leave passes lies with the Cadet Council. My sister, the Queen of the Cadet Council, would never grant me a leave. While pondering over this problem, a brilliant idea came to my mind around a month and a half ago. I thought about reading the journals that Lucas used to write during his childhood. For now, my plan is to gather as much information as possible from Lucas' journals. Once we have our vacation after our semester exams and King's Tournament, I will head to Wolfshire to investigate what happened with Lucas. However, despite the fact that I came up with this idea quite some time ago, I just couldn't muster the courage to open those journals. For some inexplicable reason, I felt nervous, almost to the point where one might mistake it for fear. But why? Why in the world was I nervous? Honestly, I couldn't understand it either. I just don't know. It was simply an unsettling feeling in my gut, warning me to not open those journals. But after thinking about it for a while with a calm mind, I came to understand. It was just Lucas' body that was reacting to the traumatic experiences written in those pages. You see, after transmigrating into this world, I not only inherited Lucas' body, but also his memories and the muscle memory. Inheriting those memories made me feel as though I had personally lived through the events he had experienced. At first, I struggled to understand my true identity. Was I Lucas whose past life was Noah, or was I Noah inside Lucas' body? Yet, as time passed and I continued to exist in this world, I gradually started becoming Lucas Morningstar, and Noah Lambert began to fade away. Now, when someone shouts Lucas, I instinctively turn to face them as if it's the most natural thing for me to do. I started referring to Reynold as my father and Lucas' family as my family. Over time, I became Lucas. So it is only natural for me to feel uncomfortable about opening the journals that have the traumas that Lucas endured as a child, trapped within FEMA traumas that I experienced as a child. But unfortunately, I have no other option. Once our semester exams start, I will become too busy to read them. Now is my chance. After mustering my courage for several days, I have finally made the decision to open them today. Letting out a deep sigh, I carefully placed the 3 journals on the table before me. Each journal had a red leather cover with a clasp and a fingerprint lock embedded within. The lock is designed in a manner that if anyone besides myself attempts to open it, the journals will self-destruct, going down in flames, reducing to ashes. Without hesitation, I placed my thumb on the fingerprint sensor embedded within the leather clasp of one of the diaries. Dinger! With a gentle chime, the clasp unlocked, and I quickly opened the journal, turning its pages to read the contents within. March 23, 2712 9:30 p.m. Dear Diary, today, I met a girl. She was beautiful. She came to our mansion with her father, who works for my father. She seemed like a high-class commoner. I want to befriend her. I heard her mother passed away recently, so she doesn't talk much. I'll try my best to make her laugh. November 28, 2712 9:30 p.m. Dear Diary, today was my birthday party. Actually, our birthday party, since Adele and I share the same birthday. He always pinch my cheeks whenever I call it my birthday alone. I invited Amelia, and even though her father didn't want her to come at first, I convinced him. We had a lot of fun. I really like spending time with her. She's started talking more compared to when we first met. Now she even laughs sometimes. Anyway, my sister and mother gave me some nice presents, but my favorite was the watch my father gave me. Yes, another is going to be added in my collection. February 13th, 2739 30 p.m. Dear Diary, I heard some classmates were bullying her, so I talked to my father and managed to have them all expelled. I also requested that they never gain admission into any reputable academy ever again. I hate people like them. I simply can't hate anyone who bothers her. October 17th, 2715 9:30 p.m. Dear Diary, Adele has been growing distant from me since yesterday. I don't know what happened, but I don't like this feeling. I asked my sister about it, but she merely advised me to give him some time. On a completely unrelated note, I ranked first in my class yesterday. Also, I've been sneaking away to watch father's training sessions for the past few days, but he told me not to tell anyone. So let's keep it a secret, November 29th, 2717 12:01 p.m. Dear Diary, today was my birthday. Broken bar, or technically yesterday. I awakened my mana court today, and I was revealed to have there. Gold. Rank, Father didn't say anything, but I could sense the disappointment in his eyes. Adele awakened there? Immortal? Rank, and he's filled with joy. Yeah, broken bar, I'm happy for him, but he didn't even talk to me the whole day today. A broken bar, I thought I would be the happiest person under the sun today. And yet, I wasn't. November 12th, 2718 6:78 p.m. Dear Diary, today was just like any other day. My parents have been distant towards me, and it's been nearly a year since I awakened my mana core. Father has begun training Adele. There are rumors that he will replace me as father's successor. I don't want that. Becoming father's heir and making him proud was the sole purpose of my existence. What am I supposed to do now? A broken bar, just what the hell am I supposed to do now? March 31st, 2719 4:32 p.m. I'm sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. Amelia tried to talk to me again today. She's as persistent as ever, but she won't understand. No one will. And those bastards, Adele and his gang, they've been bullying me for quite some time now. Further turns a blind eye, even though I've complained about it countless times. Sister and mother, as usual, won't listen to me either. For them I don't even exist anymore, so it's best if I just keep to myself, or else they'll become targets too. April 15th, 2799 44 p.m. My heart is fucking hurting, and it won't stop. I've seen doctors and heart surgeons, but they just spout bullshit. I don't give a damn if no one in my family doesn't talk to me anymore. They threw a damn banquet in Adele's honor because he asked his practical exams or some shit. That stupid prick. By the way, I tried alcohol for the first time. Yeah, I know I'm only 14, but other noble kids do it too. At first I only did it because I thought doing that would stop them from ignoring me, but I genuinely don't care anymore. Oh, and guess what? I've decided to stop training. Why the hell should I give a shit about it when I'm not gonna succeed my father anyway? May 21st, 2719 7:57 p.m. Fuck off, diary. Fuck off, world. June 12th, 2719 6:43 p.m. Seems like getting high is way more fun than I thought. I don't get why people have such a problem with drug users. Because honestly, in my opinion, they're the ones living life on easy mode. Ha ha ha. Oh, and today I bashed a glass bottle into the head of one of Adele's lackeys, split it open like a damn watermelon, and you know what they did? They suspended me for it. Fucking bastards. They did jack shit when I was being bullied, but the moment I fought back, they suspended me. Huh. Those were the first two journals, covering the initial 14.5 years of Luca's life. Rubbing my forehead as I read through their contents, a deep sigh escaped my lips. Some pages had tear stains on them, while others were torn from the forceful use of a pen. I remember most of what's written here since I have memories of writing them, but there are some clear variations. For example, as Amelia mentioned, it seems like we were indeed childhood friends, but I have no recollection of that or writing about her in these journals. This confirms it. Someone truly manipulated Luca's memories. Amelia was telling the truth, not that I ever doubted her. Anyway, the story is unfolding more or less as I remembered. Lucas was happy, then his mana core awakened. People started bullying and avoiding him. He spiraled out of control, so most likely, the next entries in the journals will detail how Lucas became the scum he was known to be in the novel. With that in mind, I nodded and opened the next and last journals on the table. However, the moment I turned the very first page, my breathing fastened, and my eyes widened in surprise. My heart slammed violently against my chest as I read the words written in the diary before me. Noah Lambert, I am well aware of your intentions. Don't you dare investigate my past just yet. You're not ready for it. You are not ready to understand anything yet. So close this journal, set it on fire, and refrain from prying into my life for now. Your focus should be solely on getting stronger and nothing else. Your time will come. I will grant you the answers you seek, but only when the time is right, and right now, It's not the time. Consider this your first and final warning. Lucas Morningstar. _ I couldn't sleep last night, a broken bar, or the 4 nights before that, for that matter. It's been 5 days since I read those journals and discovered what was written in the last diary. To say the least, it was a horrifying experience. Look, it's not every day that you find yourself transmigrated to a fantasy world. There are no instruction manuals for these types of things. It's my first time in a situation like this and I don't even know what to think now. That entry was definitely written by Lucas, the original Lucas. However, it was intended for me and her to read. But what does that imply? Did Lucas know about everything that is happening? Did he know that I would be transmigrated into his body? But how could he have known? He was just a side villain in the novel. But then again, I can't even fully trust the novel. I also can't trust the memories I acquired from him. So, what can I trust? How can I solve this mystery? According to the entry, Lucas will answer all my questions when the time comes. Should I wait for that to happen? Nonsense. I can't wait after learning something like that. Besides, I don't even know if that entry was truly written by Lucas. I mean, if I really can't trust anything, how am I supposed to trust those journals? Fuck. One mystery after another. Ugh, I hate this. I hate problem solving and uncovering mysteries. It was never my preferred genre. Okay, me, calm down. Every problem I have is related to uncovering Lucas' true identity. It's safe to say that much like Kai, Lucas was a character who wasn't fully portrayed in the novel. He had a deeper, hidden side to him that was never brought to light in the story because he managed to hide it somehow. Learning about Kai's origin and discovering how he managed to keep his real self hidden in the novel is easy. All I have to do is give him a good beating until he tells me everything. But unlike Kai, I can't beat Lucas to get my answers. Why? Because I am Lucas. Beating myself won't solve a damn thing. That leaves me with only one option. I must go to Wolfshire and personally investigate this matter there. Similar to the intuition I had about not opening those journals, I have a strong gut feeling that I'll find something significant if I go to Wolfshire. Call it this body's instincts or whatever. That's it then. I had already planned to go there, but after the King's tournament, I'm heading straight to Lucas' home. Once there, I'll closely investigate what led him to such a drastic change. I'll solve all the mysteries that have been pestering me since I arrived in this world, all at once. Thwacker! Just as my mind was engulfed in such thoughts, a forceful kick slammed into my chest, launching me through the air. Thuder! Cuck! A pained groan escaped my lips as my body struck the matted floor, coming to a halt with a crash landing. Master, I grimaced, clutching my chest as I struggled to rise to my feet. I asked you to take it easy. My semester exams are starting today. What if I end up breaking my hand or something? I'll give you a healing potion, Leo retorted in an isn't that obvious tone. Once again, I was left utterly speechless by the sheer cruelty of his mindset. Just because he can fix me, he deems it acceptable to break my limbs. I'm not an expert on the subject of the master and disciple relationship, but isn't a master supposed to be gentle and nurturing toward their disciple? And besides, I was going easy on you, Leo stated matter-of-factly. It's your mind that's clouded with uneasy thoughts. Is something bothering you? I guess, I muttered, looking down at my feet. Right now, it was around 5:46 a.m., and I found myself in the training hall with Leo. We were engaged in unarmed combat, going through our routine training. These days, I've been with Leo on a daily basis. In fact, I sometimes train even when I'm not with him. It's strange, really. I'm starting to like training, which is rather concerning since my defining characteristic is laziness. If I'm not lazy anymore, then what am I? Aside from genius, rich, and handsome that is. Anyway, most of my time is now spent with Leo. He has been teaching me various things since we returned from our isolated mountain training. My understanding of him has also grown significantly. Apparently, he's not as indifferent and callous as he was depicted in the novel. I mean, he still is, but he doesn't treat me that way for whatever reason. He has a dry sense of humor, the kind that often leaves you questioning whether he's joking or being serious. He's also incredibly wise, intelligent, and sharp. He's obsessed with looking cool, and that vibe had started rubbing off on me. Plus, he absolutely despises early mornings. Sometimes, during our morning training sessions, he just falls asleep right in the middle of our training. It's pretty pathetic to admit, but even when he's sleeping right in front of me, I can't manage to land a hit on him. "Tell me about it," Leo said, offering his assistance. "Maybe I can help you out." "I doubt it, Master," I replied, shaking my head. "I don't think anyone can help me out of the predicament I currently find myself in." Leo stared at me with an incredulous expression. "Yeah, okay, listen, my dear disciple," he said. "I have slain a dragon, defeated armies single-handedly, split oceans, and torn apart mountains. They call me a god. Do you really think I can't help with whatever teenage problem you're having? Master, are you seriously bragging right now?" I asked, with a look of disbelief on my face. "No?" he stammered, averting his gaze. He definitely was bragging. This bastard. "But seriously, tell me about it," Leo pressed. I let out a sigh, contemplating whether or not to tell him about everything. After pondering about it for a moment, a thought crossed my mind. "All right, I'll tell you," I agreed. "But first, can you answer one question for me?" Leo wiped his face with a towel and tossed one to me. "Sure, go ahead," he said. "Ask whatever you want." I hesitated before continuing. "I overheard some people saying that you were once an ally of the Morning Star family. Is it true?" A faint frown appeared on Leo's face as he looked at me. "Yeah, it's true," he confirmed, "but it's not some big secret or anything. I was your father's comrade. You should have known about it." "No, I didn't." I shook my head. The frown deepened on Leo's face. "Wait, don't tell me. Your father never talks about me?" "He doesn't," I replied sincerely. Ha broken bar ha ha ha. Leo's expression suddenly shifted and he burst into a fit of erratic laughter like a lunatic. Master. Are you all right?" I inquired, concerned. "That bastard," Leo said, his laughter subsiding. "I'll kill him. I'll definitely kill him when I see him again." "Master, calm down a little, will you? If it helps, my father never really talked to me much anyway." I approached Leo, beads of sweat forming on my forehead. Leo let out a deep breath, pinching the bridge of his nose. "I see, it's all right, but when I meet that bastard again, you might lose a father." "Sure," I shrugged. "So, what's the story here?" Leo hesitated for a moment after hearing my question before letting out another sigh. "All right," he said, "but let's go somewhere else first." "Now?" I frowned. "It's almost 6 a.m., Master. I have my first semester exam in 6 hours." "Perfect," Leo shrugged, making his way towards the exit of the training hall. "That gives us 6 more hours to train." "Huh?" I exclaimed, following behind him. "Master, I've barely had any time to study because of our trip. Are you trying to make me fail the written exams?" It's fine," he waved his hand dismissively. "Written exams don't mean a damn thing in the real world, but they do in this academy. I want to improve my rank." Harsh gusts of wind whipped across my face, carrying with it a scorching heat that intensified under the blazing sun. The air itself seemed to waver and distort due to heat. As I scanned the horizon, my vision was met only with vast stretches of sand dunes. Not a single soul was in sight. "Master, are we in the great deserts of the eastern continent?" I inquired, seeking confirmation from the tall figure standing beside me. "Yes, indeed we are," Leo responded, his voice carrying a tinge of excitement. Why? I couldn't help but ask. Leo, with his fiery red hair tied into a bun and contrasting against the desert backdrop, let out a snigger, as if finding amusement in what was about to come my way. "Why else?" he said, a mischievous glint in his eyes as he removed his doogie. "Let's train, Master," I called him. "What exactly am I doing?" Leo replied through his usual amused grin. "You mentioned your desire to learn the Mirage Walk, right? Well, that's what I'm teaching you." I'm showing you how to do it. Ah, I see, I nodded, comprehending his words. So, I can learn it just by walking? There I was, merely walking in circles around him on the sandy ground, under the scorching sun in this hot desert. No, there's more to it than that, Leo said, shaking his index finger. First, you need to exude mana into the atmosphere around you. Then, slowly use the discharged mana to distort the air around you, creating a mirage-like effect, much like the wavering air in the heat of this desert, that will make it appear as though there are multiple versions of you. With a little practice, you'll be able to conjure even more illusions. The best part is, it doesn't take much mana. I hummed, my fingers gently pressed against my chin. So, the first step is to release mana into the atmosphere and then manipulate it to distort the air. Okay, got it. Indeed, Leo remarked with a smile. Unfortunately, there isn't a manual for this technique, as it is one of my original creations. I knew that already. Leo used the Mirage Walk when he fought against Nero in the War of Union, and the protagonist did mention that it was an original move of the God of War. This is also one of my signature moves that I used to spam when I was your age, so don't go teaching it to someone else, Leo said. I promise I won't, I replied earnestly. Now, tell me the story. Leo, who thought that I would forget about it, let out a defeated and bitter sigh when I asked him once again about his connection to the Morningstar family. Observing his reaction, I spoke. Master, if you don't want to share, then it's fine, since I can always find some other way to know about it. No, it's not like that, I just don't like remembering those times. Leo shook his head. However, since you are so curious, I will tell you. All right, I said, as I gradually began to exude mana into my surroundings. As the mana left my body and merged with the atmosphere, I found it hard to control it effectively. However, considering the time I spent pouring my mana into the beast egg, my ability to manipulate it had strengthened. So as I tried to use the discharged mana to distort the air around me, and failed every time, Leo began. First, let me tell who I am, or rather, who I was before I became what I am now, Leo expressed. You may not be aware, but in the old world, prior to the influx of mana on Earth, there were many countries and continents. Yeah, it might be hard to believe for someone of this generation, but I come from that world. One of those nations was called Japan. My ancestors, going back generations, hailed from that land. When the rifts appeared and the aliens invaded, and when the land masses converged into one big supercontinent, the Asian continent, including Japan, suffered the most. Yeah, that's also something I know. In the novel, it was mentioned how the initial onslaught of the demon race wreaked havoc primarily in Central and East Asia, inflicting immense damage. And after that, as the land masses of the world collided, merging all the continents around the Asian continent, millions of people lost their lives due to tectonic impacts. That's one of the reasons why it's so rare to see someone of Asian heritage in this world. The majority of them were wiped out during the apocalypse. Leo continued, the central government rose to power and implemented a law that required everyone to serve in the United Military for a period of time. The Asians, who had already suffered so many losses, resisted this law, but their voices were suppressed. Yeah, I know this too. The government enforced their orders, disregarding the already vulnerable Asian race. My father, a renowned warrior in his time, had a dream. He sought to resurrect the nation of Japan. He pleaded with the central government, and they granted him permission to take the western continent and name it New Japan. Upon hearing this, a frown etched itself onto my face. But that is impossible, I interjected. The West has always been a seat of power for the Morningstar family. Yes, Leo affirmed with a nod. You see, the central government presented a condition. To claim the West, my father, Kazuya Kurogami, had to defeat the reigning overlord of the West at the time, Joseph Morningstar. I see, I responded, guessing what would have happened. Needless to say, my father challenged your grandfather and lost, Leo disclosed. Desperate, my father implored the central government for another opportunity, but his plea was denied. However, Since he was one of the world's most formidable fighters, the central government did grant him a second chance, of sorts. They declared that if, in the future, his heir could defeat the next overlord of the West, our family would ascend to the position of ruling family, and the West would be renamed New Japan under our reign. However, there was a catch: if his heir were to fail, our family would be prohibited from making such a request again in the future. Basically, we were granted a single chance. Wait, I exclaimed, realizing where this story was going. That's when I was born. My father had high expectations for me. They believed I would fulfill his dream. However, much to his disappointment, I did not awaken a high-ranking Manakor like him. Meanwhile, the next heir of the Morning Star lineage was said to have awakened an immortal 3 ranked core. Leo gritted his teeth, still affected by his past. That can only mean, as you may have guessed, it was your father, Reynold Morningstar, Leo disclosed. Since I didn't stand up to my father's standards, he disowned me as his heir. Instead, he adopted one of my cousins, who possessed an immortal 2 ranked core, and appointed him as his successor, instead of me, his own son. After experiencing bouts of severe depression at such a tender age, I eventually stopped caring about my father. When the time came for my military education, I stole his money and enrolled here at the Global Academy. It was here that I encountered your father. As Leo continued recounting his story, I listened intently. None of this information was ever mentioned in the novel, so I didn't know about any of this. Your father was a few years older than me, and back then he was the king of the academy. I hated him. He was the reason my own father never loved me. After I won the king's tournament, I couldn't bear it any longer. I challenged him to a duel. I wanted to make him suffer. Leo let out a sigh. Did you win? I asked eagerly. Leo's face twisted with bitterness as he shook his head. No, I lost. I was heartbroken. Since the day it was revealed that I possessed an average rank potential, I poured everything into my training to bridge the gap between myself and those fortunate enough to be gifted with high-ranked mana caused by the heavens. But hard work doesn't always pay off. Sometimes, no, most of the time, you give your all and still end up on the losing side. Did you give up then? I inquired further, my curiosity growing. I would have if it weren't for your father. Reynold came to me and told me not to quit. He was like those heroes you read about in stories and fairy tales, radiating with such brilliance that it blinds you. But my hatred for him only grew. I thought he pitied me. I pushed myself even harder, challenging the strongest opponents I could find, day in and day out. Sometimes I won and other times I lost, but my stubbornness to never stay down caught the attention of a certain man. He approached me and offered to become my master. He told me that if I trained under him, I might never reach the heights that Reynold would achieve, but I could still become stronger than most. It wasn't exactly what I had hoped for, but I accepted his offer. I wanted to grow stronger, after all. As for surpassing Reynold, I decided to figure that out later. So this man, my master, took me to his dojo, where there were other disciples, and among them, the most powerful individual I had ever encountered, second only to Reynold himself, was a girl named Yennefer. She was a master of spellcasting but also had impressive sword skills. Wait, I interjected, interrupting Leo's narrative. Did you just say Yennefer? But that's your mother. Yes, Leo nodded. Naturally, like everyone else in the dojo, she became my primary target. I had to defeat her before I could even think about challenging Reynold. I faced her in numerous duels, and I was defeated each time. However, as we continued to train together, we gradually became friends. We spent countless days together, training in the morning, stealing moments during classes, and sometimes gazing at the beauty of the night sky while laying on the grass field. She was the most remarkable person I knew. She also shined so brightly, yet it never blinded me. Instead, it inspired me to work harder. She taught me so many things, and my master also helped me a lot to grow. But I eventually reached my potential wall. I couldn't grow stronger. Everyone said that it was only natural and that I had known a day like this would come. But I wasn't satisfied. I still hadn't defeated Reynold. One day, frustrated, I challenged Reynold once again. I lost, obviously. The next day, I challenged him again, and the day after that. Slowly, it became a daily routine for me to challenge him. Surprisingly, I started enjoying those battles, and Reynold, in his own way, helped me greatly. Although I couldn't grow my mana core any further, he helped me refine my martial arts to an unbelievable degree. As we fought daily, we grew closer and our interactions extended beyond training sessions. I stopped trying to kill him eventually. I even brought him to our dojo, where we trained together. Yennefer would occasionally join us, and the three of us formed a tight-knit bond. Those years were the most cherished and fulfilling of my life. I loved that time, but alas, all things must come to an end. Both Yennefer and Reynold happened to be of the same age, older than me, and because of that, they were drafted into the military before I was. I was sad, but I didn't show it. I asked them to wait for me. My academic years flew by in the blink of an eye, and upon graduating, I was eager to reunite with my dear friends. However, upon meeting them, I discovered that Reynold had proposed to Yennefer. A heavy silence enveloped us as I instantly understood where this story was headed. After a brief pause, Leo finally spoke up. I never realized the depth of my love for that girl until that moment, and now, she was with my best friend. It was a realization that came too late. Trivial as it may seem, all I could do was genuinely be happy for them. I buried my own feelings deep within my heart and served alongside them in the United Military. After our frontline duty, Reynold and Yennefer exchanged vows and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. They honored me by appointing me as her and all their future children's godfather. For several years, I dedicated myself to overseeing the Morningstar personal military unit. A broken bar, but being so close to them was agonizing. The way they shone together, a broken bar burned me. As silence enveloped us, I gazed at Leo, my lips sealed shut. I found myself at a loss for words. I wasn't good at these kinds of situations since I never knew what to say. Amidst that fleeting silence, a single question escaped my lips. So, what happened? What did you do? I made the decision to leave, Leo responded. I handed my resignation letter to Reynold. At first, he rejected it and tore it apart. He inquired about the reason behind my sudden interest to leave, but I couldn't have just told him. Besides, there was no need to say anything. He was like a brother to me. He knew me inside out. It didn't take him long to realize my affection for Yennefer. He said that I should have told him. He claimed that he would have never pursued her had he known about my feelings, but those words angered me. So, you would have pitied me and forsaken your own love for my sake? I asked him, and like that, our conversation slowly escalated into a violent fight. We nearly destroyed the Morningstar mansion, but in the end, I lost to him once again. Reynold apologized for taking things too far, and I did the same. Yennefer scolded us for almost demolishing the mansion, and we both chuckled, just like the good old days. So, you two made up in the end? I inquired, though deep down I knew that was unlikely. In the end? Leo scoffed. That wasn't the end by any means. The day after our fight, I departed. Even though I didn't show it then, I was infatuated with myself for losing against Reynold. Even after all my hard work, he effortlessly overpowered me, yet I couldn't even draw a drop of his blood. I went on a journey across the world. I enrolled in numerous martial sects and schools. I honed my skills with countless weapons and learned thousands of weapon arts, even creating a few of my own. I faced off against some of the mightiest and toughest fighters the world had to offer. The dojos where I had trained were no exception. I challenged them and emerged victorious. I went to the United Military and fought on the front lines again. Soon, my name became known far and wide. FRF squared FSZWF apostrophe FSF macron FSN tilde micro L.CF 1/4 F broken bar. But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted more. My hunger for strength didn't stop. That's when I started learning some of the forbidden weapon arts of the kind which was banned by the central government. Still, even with all my accomplishments, I knew it wasn't enough to defeat Reynold. I was still weak. No matter how many powerful weapon arts I learned, I struggled to use them consistently because of my small mana pool. I wasn't born with a naturally high-ranking monarch or potential, so, after years of searching, trial, and error, I created a technique to surpass my limitations. If the world wasn't fair, then I would make it. If the heavens didn't bless me, then I would shatter them. Using that technique, I found a way to break my potential wall. It didn't take long before Reynold and Yennefer tracked me down. They pleaded for me to return home with them, but all I desired was to defeat Reynold. It had become an obsession at that point. My insatiable thirst for strength had driven me too far. I challenged him to a duel, but he refused to fight me. I asked him again and again, relentlessly provoking him, but he didn't accept my challenge. He said that he could feel if we fought again, it would be our last duel, but I was beyond any reason at that point. Defeating Reynold was my only goal, so I forced him to fight me. I went back to my father and requested him to make me his heir again. Given my reputation, he readily agreed. In accordance with the rights bestowed upon us by the central government, I challenged Reynold for control of the western continent. I knew that if I were to challenge him for his seat, he would have no choice but to fight me. Naturally, my actions left him feeling betrayed. I can't blame him. I would have felt the same in his position, but at that moment, such thoughts didn't come to my mind. Yennefer was in the midst of labor with twins that day, and Reynold asked for some time, but he didn't disclose the full reason, so I assumed he was trying to avoid the duel. I exercised my right to challenge the overlord of the West and called a member of the central government to enforce it. Naturally, Reynold had no choice but to comply. On that day, unexpected complications arose, and Yennefer's life was on the line while giving birth to you and your brother. When Reynold heard the news, he was furious. He blamed me for not being there for his wife when she was fighting between life and death. That's when he finally told me about it. I was taken aback. I tried to apologize and urged him to leave and be with Yennefer. I realized that I had made a mistake and decided to step back from the duel myself. I couldn't bear the thought of what might have happened to Yennefer if she had died alone that day, with Reynold not by her side because of me. I don't know how I would have lived with myself, but Reynold merely shook his head. He declared that it was time to end it all. He said that it was a mistake to befriend me. He said that I was jealous of him and I couldn't accept the fact that Yennefer chose him over me. His words pierced my heart like a dagger. Perhaps all he said was true, and that's what hurt the most. A broken bar. He was right. It was indeed time to bring an end to this. Yes, becoming friends with him had been a mistake from the beginning. Yes, I was always jealous of him and the way he shined so bright. A broken bar like a star. Yes, I couldn't let go of the fact that Yennefer chose him instead of me. I was the one who introduced them. I was the reason they were together, so why couldn't she have been with me? Why did he have everything I wanted in life? He had loving parents, innate talent that was blessed by the heavens, and he even took the first girl I loved. Yes, how could I not be jealous of him? He was the protagonist of the story, while I remained a mere side character. Destined to be the hero's faithful friend and nothing more. He was like a brother to me, and she was the girl I loved. While I slowly faded into the background, a broken bar blinded by their light, we fought with no hold bars this time and with clear intentions to kill one another. With my strength, there was no way he could have defeated me. I was pushing him back this time. I was winning. So did you win? I asked, knowing full well that he wouldn't be sharing this story if he had emerged victorious. If Leo had won, he would be the one ruling over the western continent, but since my father held that position, it was clear who had prevailed. A bitter smile formed on Leo's face as he shook his head. We clashed on a chain of islands in the Southern Ocean. After demolishing those islands, we knew that this fight could only be settled by going all out. I unleashed my most powerful weapon art, my heaven-splitting sword, while he wielded his Dawnbreaker. We poured every ounce of our strength into those strikes, and in the end, I lost again. I was just a split second too slow. Leo brushed his hand against the scar on the side of his face and spoke. He spared my life but banished me from ever setting foot in the West. He said that if I wanted his seat, I should have just asked for it, but before I could explain that I had no interest in his seat whatsoever, truth be told, I wouldn't have taken it even if I had won. He simply walked away. Leo chuckled, and just like that, my father disowned me once again. Since then, I haven't had any contact with Reynold or Yennefer. It seems Reynold was right. That was indeed the last time we fought. Wow, that was tough. What a twisted origin. I don't understand why it wasn't mentioned in the novel. It would have given Leo's character so much depth. He was just a child when his father abandoned him because he couldn't live up to his expectations. That must have traumatized him, driving his obsession to become stronger, but the person he aimed to surpass was far beyond his reach. Eventually, he became friends with his rival. However, the girl he liked chose his rival over him, reigniting his determination to grow stronger and overcome his rival. That led him to make a foolish decision, causing a misunderstanding that jeopardized their friendship. It was all because of his obsession, but in the end, even after all his struggles, he suffered defeat. A fate of a side character indeed, but now I understand why he took me as his disciple. Lucas and Leo share striking similarities in their origins. He must have felt a sense of empathy towards me, but it's hard to fathom. Leo Kurogami, one of the most renowned names in the world, fought numerous battles against Reynold Morningstar and never won once, I uttered, gently stroking my chin while deep in thought. If Leo's story is on point, then he must have been at the peak of his prime when he faced off against my father for the last time, and no one in this world, I repeat, no one in this world is capable of defeating Leo Kurogami in a one-on-one battle, apart from Nero in a few years' time. In fact, even if the world's top fighters were to band together against him, Leo would give them a run for their money, maybe even killing a few of them. So how exactly did Reynold manage to defeat him at the peak of his prime? Hey, Leo said, rising with a frown, are you mocking your master? Let me tell you, it was a close battle. Your father had to use the Dawnbreaker. I'm the only person in history who survived after facing the might of that weapon art. You know? I nodded, knowing his feat was nothing to scoff at. So, if you were to fight each other again, who do you think would win? Leo furrowed his brows, contemplating for a few seconds before shrugging. Even though I'm not currently at the peak of my prime, if we were to fight again, my blade would be at his throat before he could even react. Of course, after all, in the novel, Nero had to utilize all 7 of his heavenly swords to defeat Leo. I know just how much of a monster he is. Well, enough reminiscing about my foolish youth. Leo patted my back and nudged me forward, urging me to continue practicing distorting the air with mana. Now, tell me what's bothering you. After listening to Leo's story, which answered at least some of my questions, I decided to tell him what was troubling me. So you're saying you lost some of your memories? He asked. Yeah, I confirmed. A broken bar. Okay. I didn't completely tell him the truth, but I couldn't be blamed for not being entirely honest. As I mentioned earlier, I can't just tell him that I've come from another reality, where this world existed merely as a novel I had read in my past life, right? Because you fell down a flight of stairs? Leo inquired. Yes, I replied, mixing a few lies with the truth. A broken bar. So what if I lied? At least I was being partially honest, but I have reasons to suspect that someone implanted false memories in my mind before I arrived in this city, I confessed. Leo let out a deep breath as he processed the information I gave him. I see, he finally responded. If you're right, then the most plausible course of action for you is to return home and investigate what happened there. Exactly, I nodded. That's my plan for the vacation. It feels unsettling to be unable to rely on my own memories. I need to get to the bottom of this. Indeed, Leo said, patting my back, but at least it explains everything. What do you mean? I frowned, seeking clarification. It clarifies why you underwent such a sudden change in behavior after coming here, Leo explained. It's not uncommon for people's personalities to undergo a complete transformation after losing their memories. Not to mention, if your suspicions are correct and someone did manipulate your memories, it's possible they also controlled your mind to make you behave. Well, like a scum? I chimed in to complete his sentence with a blank face. I know that they're called Lucas, There is no need to pull back. Leo let out a dry cough and nodded in affirmation. Whatever it is, I can confidently say this: something is amiss with the Morningstar family. I can't put my finger on it, but there's definitely something going on. He continued, I had known your parents for years. They won't just abandon their kid because he couldn't stand up to their expectations like my own father. I stroked my chin, comprehending his words. I couldn't help but think he was right. The fact that Reynold would shun Lucas like that, and Lucas turning against her own friend and attempting to assault her, all those incidents don't flow. It breaks their character. Something must have happened at a broken bar and I will find what it was. As I made my decision with a firm nod, Leo pushed me once more, urging me to continue my training. Come on, he said, don't stop. Like I told you, keep trying to distort the air with mana. Huh? I exclaimed, glancing at my watch and then showing it to him. Master, it's 11:32 a.m. If we don't leave immediately for the teleportation gate now, I'll be late for my first exam. I'm not letting you go until you at least create one illusion of yourself. Leo shrugged. Phew. ? Can I come in? I asked. She gave me a cold glare. It's May, is it? I frowned. I'm not good at remembering months. She facepalmed at my dumbness. It's May I come in? My eyebrows twitched in frustration as I corrected my question. May I come in? No, came the stern reply. But I have an exam in this class, Mom, I pleaded. You had an exam. It started 1 hour ago. You are late, Mr. Morningstar, she stated matter-of-factly. You see, my struggle to manipulate the air around me with mana took me far too long. True to Leo's words, he only released me once I accomplished what he told me, and now, because of the delay, I found myself late for my first semester exam. I stood at the doorway of the classroom, facing Liz, who was our invigilator for the day, and she flatly refused to grant me permission to enter. I have a valid reason for being late, I insisted. I don't want to hear it, Liz responded, nonchalantly perched on a desk, flipping through a book in her hands without even sparing me a glance. Despite my growing frustration, I managed to conceal my emotions, forcing a smile that tugged at my lips. Mom, if my tardiness is an issue, I suggest taking it up with Leo-sensei, I suggested. I'm late because of him. Silence filled the room as Liz and everyone present in the class turned their attention towards me, momentarily diverting their focus from their answer sheets. Why are you late? She inquired. I thought you didn't want to hear my reason. Is what I wanted to say, but I held back. After all, I love my life. Sensei kidnapped me and took me to the Great Desert in the Eastern Continent, I replied with a straight face. He refused to release me until I managed to learn what he was teaching me. Teaching you? Liz muttered, her voice barely above a whisper as a frown creased her forehead. At the same time, I heard gasps of shock and surprise from some of the cadets, their whispers filling the air. What? So the rumors were true. Why? Why him? I'm far more talented than him. Why did Leo-sensei take someone like him under his wing? Damn it, it's just nepotism. Macron broken bar apostrophe ftm pound apostrophe ofsysl.co wait, what? No one seemed to care that I had mentioned being kidnapped. I mean, he practically forced me into following him without giving me a choice, and he didn't release me until I fulfilled his demands. That's definitely kidnapping, right? Silence. With a single word from Liz, a crushing pressure enveloped the classroom, and everyone fell silent. Some wore bitter or jealous expressions, while others still appeared bewildered by what I had just revealed before reluctantly returning their focus to their answer sheets. Liz glanced at me and let out a sigh. I will allow you to take the exam today. However, if you are late again for any of your remaining semester exams, regardless of the reason, not even Mr. Kurogami will be able to persuade me to grant you permission. Understood, I acknowledged, my left hand resting behind my back as I pressed my right fist against my chest, doing a salute before entering the classroom. Shaking her head, Liz handed me my answer sheet. I quickly took it and rushed to my seat, immediately scanning the question paper already placed on my desk. I had to hurry. I had already lost an entire hour due to my master's actions. I couldn't afford to fail this test. Improving my academic rank was crucial. Well, technically speaking, I was partly to blame for half of that lost hour since Leo had managed to bring me back to the global city half an hour ago. I used the remaining time to hurry back to my apartment and change into a fresh uniform. Why did I bother? Well, after training in the desert, my previous uniform was soaked in sweat, leaving me in a disheveled state. Certainly, a gentleman like myself couldn't present himself to the exam hall in such a condition, could he? It has been 3.5 weeks since our first semester exam started. Despite being 1 hour late to the exam that day, I think I managed to pass it somehow. As for the rest of my written exams, I think I performed well enough to avoid failing. While I won't top the scoreboards, I'm certain that I will achieve a decent academic rank based on my written exam scores alone. We had only 4 written exams, but they were spread out over the course of 3.5 weeks due to several gaps between each one of them. Now, all that remains are the physical exams. If I can successfully pass them all, I should be able to secure a place within the top 50-80 academic rankings. Before we can proceed to the physical exams, we have one more test to take today, an additional class exam. Essentially, it's a test of the additional course each student chose at the beginning of the semester. Fortunately, I opted for cooking, so I have nothing to worry about. I didn't need to study anything for today, and with my cooking skills on par with top chefs in the world, I am confident I will breeze through this exam effortlessly and with outstanding results. Of course, it would be a help if I pair up with a good partner. Cadet rank 116,969. Lucas Morningstar. Lost in my thoughts, I snapped back to reality upon hearing the instructor's voice. She was a beautiful ebony woman in her mid-30s, with luscious curly black hair tied up in a bun and wearing an apron over her dress. She called out my name and rank. Yes, I raised my hand in reply. You'll be partnering with cadet rank 009468, Amelia Black. I knew this would happen. I just knew it. While most people would be taken aback or disappointed in this situation, I had foreseen such an outcome right from the beginning. If there is such a thing as fate, it certainly has a wicked sense of humor, but I already saw this coming. A broken bow, but even still, although I already anticipated a situation like this happening, there is nothing I can do to change it. It is what it is, I guess. I resigned myself to my fate with a shrug before walking up to an empty cooking station and standing there. Before long, a teenage beauty with her raven black hair tied back into a ponytail and bright green eyes reminiscent of a calm forest on a sunny day walked up to me and stood right beside me. She spoke with a frown on her face. How are we paired together? Your name starts with L and mine does with A. Even our roll numbers are far apart. Beats me, I shrugged, but do not fret, milady, we shall vanquish all our enemies and win this thing. Amelia looked at me blankly for a moment before saying, Did you hit your head any time recently? No. Why? Just because. While setting up utensils, she spoke again. It's fine, though, just follow my lead, and as you said, we will ace this. Wait, I scoffed. Why would I, the best culinary artist to have walked on this planet, ever follow you? Lucas. Amelia looked at me blankly for a few seconds before finally speaking. I knew you were narcissistic, but are you delusional too? How dare thee? I squinted my eyes at her. Do you doubt my skills? You have no skill. Stifling a chuckle, Amelia exclaimed, Your cooking is terrible. That's why I didn't let you cook during the mock war. Not to mention, your utensil handling skills are terrible too. Blasphemy, I roared. Anyone who has tasted my cooking has gone silent from the sheer foodgasm they experience. If by foodgasm you mean retching sensation and food poisoning, then yes, Amelia nodded, still holding back herself from laughing. Why you? I gritted my teeth. Fine, instead of helping each other, let's do something else. Let's make a bet. Amelia raised an eyebrow. Okay, I'm listening. We will each prepare one dish and ask the instructor to rate them. Whoever scores the highest wins, I said. What will the winner get? She asked. Whatever the winner wants, I replied. Interesting. Amelia flashed a confident smirk and nodded. Okay, let's do it. With that, we started our preparation. Our task was to hunt a mana beast from the 5th District Forest, skin it, prepare it, and cook it. We were given a total of 3 hours to accomplish everything. Successfully creating a delectable dish within that allotted time would result in a passing grade. Naturally, those whose dishes stood out with excellence would be rewarded with higher scores, but since the time frame provided to us was too small for both hunting and cooking individually, everyone decided to divide the work among their partners. One member of each duo took on the task of going to the 5th District Forest for hunting, while the other person in the pair focused on preparing ingredients until then. Once the individual who went hunting returned with the game, the duo would then start cooking together. Yes, it was a perfect plan, but since Amelia and I decided to have a little competition of our own, we couldn't possibly work like that, so we came up with a plan of our own. We both would venture to the 5th District Forest to hunt there, and then we both return back to cook our own dishes individually. Yes, we didn't have much time, but that's what made it more exciting. A broken bar. I'm starting to believe that we both are idiots. Whoosh, whoosh. Currently, we were jumping from one tree branch to another while traversing across this dense 5th District Forest. From my right, Amelia spoke in a curious voice while hopping from one branch to another. So, what are you planning to cook? She asked. I'm thinking about moonlit rabbit, I answered, matching her pace. Amelia raised her eyebrows. Can you catch one? You do know that moonlit rabbits are faster! Quisha! Wow! Before she could finish her sentence, from the cover of the woods, an ape jumped out on me. Specifically, the ape was red and white in color, and fire seemed to be coming out from the top of its head. It was a firehead ape. It looked like a slightly larger gorilla from my world if they were red and they had fire coming out from their head. These firehead apes can spit fire from their mouth like a flamethrower, and they are physically very stronger to the point where they can crush a boulder with their bare hands. Fuka! As I was in midair, the firehead ape jumped on the branch in front of me, the one I was going to land on. It pulled back its hand and balled a fist, aiming to hit me in midair. Watch out! Amelia yelled and summoned her bow from her smart bracelet before quickly knocking an arrow on its taut bowstring. But before she could aim and shoot, the firehead ape threw his fist at me while I was still in midair. Swoosh! However, his fist met nothing but air as I twisted my body and dodged his attack before skillfully landing on his side. The ape was confused, but it reacted quickly and turned to face me. Eth squared C1/2 zo n tilde micro a macro nash. Cthom. Unfortunately for the mana beast, I had already moved from there. I slipped under its legs and stood up behind it. From there, I placed my fingers on its back and channeled mana into every part of my body before directing it all to my hand and closing my fist a broken bar. Thwacka! Ultimately dealing the firehead ape a perfect 1-inch punch, but the firehead ape fell to its knees before losing its balance and falling down to the ground. I had completely crushed its spine, so it had died long before hitting the ground, but still, in its last moments, the firehead ape let out a cry for help with its last breath. I fear its tribe would soon be here after hearing its death call, so we may want to start moving soon. I turned to Amelia and shouted, "Let's move before more of its tribe shows up here." Amelia broken bar. Why are you looking at me like that? The black-haired girl was staring at me. Her eyes widened and her mouth agape to such an extent that it was practically touching the ground. What the fuck was that? She exclaimed. What was what? I responded hastily, my eyes darting around the woods, on the lookout for any sign of another firehead ape that might be creeping up on us. That way you moved. Amelia stammered in shock. I pressed a finger to my lips, signaling for her to lower her voice, but it seemed to have no effect on her. How was your reaction speed? How were you so fast? And how did you kill it with one blow of your hand at such a short distance? SHH, can you please speak more quietly? I urged. And first, let's move from this spot before another firehead ape shows up. Finally coming back to her senses after hearing those words, Amelia hesitantly nodded her head. Why yeah, let's go. She placed her bow and arrow back into the dimensional storage of her smart bracelet and we both began our advance once again. As we moved, I turned my head to look at Amelia and questioned, "Oh, right, what were you saying before?" Never mind that." Amelia looked back at me before averting her gaze, but as if she remembered something in the next instant, she cast a glance back at me. "So is it true?" "Is what true?" I asked. "That Sensei Leo Kurogami has taken you as his disciple?" she asked. "More like I took him as my master, but yeah, that's right," I replied with a smug grin. Hey, one can hardly blame me for feeling a sense of pride after becoming the sole disciple of one of the strongest fighters in the world. Leo receives hundreds and thousands of emails and physical applications from individuals across the world, all begging for the opportunity to be his disciple. In fact, there were numerous individuals who had intended to enroll in the Ethereal Academy this year solely because a captain-ranked soldier from the United Military was slated to be an instructor there. However, once they learned that Leo Kurogami himself was also taking a break from military service and would be joining the Global Academy as an instructor, many of them promptly changed their plans and joined Global Academy instead. A significant number of people joined Global Academy simply to get close to Leo and flatter him, hoping to secure a place as his disciple. Under such fierce competition, I managed to secure that spot. So, can one blame me for feeling a tad smug? Shouldn't you like a broken bar lay low and not let people know about this until the King's tournament? Amelia asked. You will definitely become a target at the tournament now. I don't care, I said, looking directly into Amelia's eyes. It's already too late to hide it. Besides, if they think they can take on Leo Kurogami's sole disciple, then let them come. 4 hours had passed, and the cooking exam had finally come to an end. I was currently standing in front of my apartment door, downright depressed by today's events. Although I'd rather not admit it openly, Amelia had truly saved me from failing the exam, a broken bar and potentially getting expelled. You see, while I was engrossed in cooking, my mind wandered elsewhere, and as my attention diverted, I made a mistake. Well, let's not dwell too much on the details and let's say that I almost set the entire class on fire. How did something like that even happen, one may ask. You see, I always wear my hidden blade on my right wrist. By always, I mean all the time, and by all the time, I mean all the time. As a result, it's quite easy to forget it's even there sometimes. So, there I was, deep frying the skinned moonlit rabbit, holding myself from drooling over the mouth-watering aroma filling up the kitchen. Suddenly, I felt a tinge of sharp pain in my belly. Distracted by the pain, which I blamed on the sudden shift in my diet, I instinctively tried to grab my waist, but while moving my hands, I accidentally flicked my wrist twice, causing my hidden blade to spring forth. To my horror, the blade struck the gas line and punctured it, resulting in a dangerous gas leak. Thankfully, before an explosion could occur, Amelia, for reasons unknown, had been keeping a watchful eye on me. She reacted quickly and with her wind magic, she created a vacuum to seal the cut in the pipeline. It was a foolish mistake on my part, but the worst part, however, was what happened after that. After everything settled down, Amelia looked at me and uttered, "That's why I said your utensil usage is not good," and gave me a look that screamed, "I told you so." As if that wasn't enough, Amelia also managed to complete her dish on time and ended up winning the bet we had made, and to make matters worse, I had to listen to a nearfall from our culinary instructor for jeopardizing the safety of my fellow cadets. She also deducted a huge chunk of my merit points. Usually, when I make blunders, they're intentional and are meant to cause chaos or openings in my enemy's defense, but this time, it was a genuine, stupid mistake, which made it all the more frustrating since I was really looking forward to winning that bet with her. I should have taken out my hidden blade before coming anywhere near the cooking stove. I should be more concerned about the lives I put in danger rather than my bet with Amelia. No one was in any mortal danger since everyone present there was a mana user. After all, at worst, they might have suffered second-degree burns. But even that could have been easily healed with some healing potions from the Academy's stock. So, yeah, I was only disappointed from losing the bet with her. Well, it's fine. I trust that Amelia won't ask me to do anything weird. I hope he broken bar that she won't. Shaking my head to clear such stray thoughts, I pressed my thumb against the biometric scanner on the wall beside my door. Dinger! As the fingerprint scanner turned green, I quickly twisted the doorknob and swung open the door to my apartment. Barduma! However, the moment I stepped inside, my breath quickened, and it felt as if my heart was about to burst out of my chest. I gasped for air, collapsing to my knees. My vision blurred, and my head felt light. Confusion washed over me as I scanned the room, until my eyes finally landed on the mana beast egg resting on top of the center table, radiating a bright golden glow. It's hatching? I managed to utter through ragged breaths, struggling to regain my composure and stand back up. Yet, no matter how hard I tried to rise to my feet, all I could manage was to crawl. So that's what I did. Down on my knees, with a frantic kick, I closed the front door of my apartment and propelled myself forward. I started crawling using every ounce of strength left in my muscles. The egg shouldn't be hatching right now. Based on my calculations, it should have taken at least a few more weeks. Did I make an error somewhere? No, that's impossible. I don't make mistakes, and I certainly couldn't have made such a big blunder. With each passing thought that only raised more questions in my mind, cold beads of sweat started to form on my forehead. I was trying my best to get to the egg as quickly as I could, but I was nearly not fast enough. All I could only manage to do was crawl a few steps before the blinding light coming from the egg grew brighter and forced me to squint my eyes in discomfort. At that very moment, an excruciating pain pierced through my abdomen, centered around my solar plexus. Ugh! I gritted my teeth, muffling a scream of agony as I clutched my stomach tightly, feeling the pain ripple throughout my entire body. Agha! My head grew lighter, an overwhelming fatigue washed over me. It felt as if my eyelids were suddenly made of lead now. The last thing I can remember before darkness shrouded my vision and I fell unconscious was a crack appearing on the surface of the egg. Tack, tack, tack. Taka. I felt someone constantly poking me with something pointed like a pencil. Grhh. Groaning in frustration, I rubbed my eyes and tried sitting up straight. I was still feeling pain in my muscles, but due to my drowsiness, I paid it no heed. Sitting back up, I opened my eyes and blinked a few times to clear my vision before looking around. The fuck just happened? Confused, I touched my chin and tried to remember why I was sleeping on the floor before I suddenly remembered. I had come back from the academy when I opened the door and saw that the egg was already starting to hatch. I felt pain and lethargy before I finally passed out. The egg, I exclaimed and looked around. Did the mana beast come out? As soon as I thought that, something poked me again on my leg. Ouch! I yelped, jolting back on my legs and quickly looking at my feet. To my surprise, it wasn't a person wielding a pencil. It was a bird using its beak to poke me. Huh? Before I could even process any of this, the little baby bird flapped its wings and hopped on its legs. Crick, crick. It came up to me and started rubbing its head against my leg while chirping merrily. Was it trying to wake me up? I knelt down, cupped my hands, and gently picked up the baby bird. Damn, as I looked at it closely and it took my breath away. Its feathers were a brilliant shade of red and were subtly glowing, like dancing flames that shimmered with a magical light. Around its delicate neck, its feathers transitioned from red to silver, adding an elegant touch to its fiery presence. Crip, crip, the baby bird emitted soft chirping sounds, filling the air with a sweet melody. Its wings, though small, quivered with excitement, as if ready to take flight into the sky. I couldn't quite explain it, but there was an undeniable bond between us. If I remember correctly, in the novel, William experienced a similar connection upon meeting his cat, Rui. When Rui's egg hatched, yes, she was hatched despite being a cat. William felt an indescribable bond with her, although I didn't understand it while reading. Right now, I guess I'm feeling something similar, I mused. In simple terms, it felt as if we were deeply connected. William referred to this phenomenon as soul sync in the novel. When he poured his mana into the beast egg, he internally circulated it throughout his body. Consequently, as his mana flowed into the egg, it carried a tiny essence of his soul every time with it. As a result of that, when his mana beast egg hatched, Ruia and William's soul were synced in a similar wavelength. Maybe the same thing was happening with me and this little baby bird. Essentially, it was like sharing the same soul with the mana beast. This process was the most effective way of taming the mana beasts. But what are you? I blurted out, my eyes fixed on the mesmerizing red baby bird in my hands. Yup, there was no mistaking it. One look at it and it's clear that this creature was anything but ordinary. After all, the egg it hatched from was of mythical rank, so, obviously, this beast ought to be special. But what is it? Let's see. A bird-type mana beast, adorned with feathers that resembled flickering fire. Could it be broken by... Wait, I gasped, my mind racing to a startling realization. Could you be a phoenix? Creak, the baby bird chirped in response, almost as if affirming my suspicion. A few weeks later, at Kai's apartment, a group of people gathered in the drawing room of an apartment. They were standing around a man with shoulder-length bluish-black hair who sat on a sofa, facing them all. The man had his legs crossed, and his teal eyes keenly scanned the entire room with an emotionless glint, carefully observing everyone. Standing beside him was a tall young man with a massive frame and dark skin. Despite being so massive and scary, he possessed a face which could only be described as handsome. It was Alberto. He stood with his arms crossed, exuding a bouncer-like aura, ready to strike down anyone who posed a threat. On the man's left stood another dark-skinned individual with sleek, combed-back raven-black hair. It was Quinn. His deep, hollow eyes were closed, giving the impression that he was asleep while standing. Amidst this assembly, all eyes focused on a young man who stood before Kai. His name was Zach. He was a big social media influencer and he had been assigned the task of spreading rumors about Nero. With a wide smile, he informed Kai of his success. And at this point, rumors about him are already circulating. Zach exclaimed, "You don't have to worry about anything, young Master Kai. My followers trust every word I say, so these rumors will undoubtedly spread even further." "Good," Kai responded, though his eyes still had a hint of disinterest. "Our next task is to force Nero into using his gift during the King's tournament. Since numerous news channels will be present to telecast it as a live event, the rumor will transform into an undeniable fact." "Understood." Zach nodded and took a step back, joining the rest of the crowd. Almost immediately, another young man stepped forward. He had blonde hair and stood slightly taller than the others. He pressed his hands together and displayed a smile so pleasing that it could even put the greatest politicians to shame. "And you are?" Kai inquired, raising an eyebrow. For a moment, the smile vanished from the young man's face, replaced by a frown, before quickly returning. I am Chris Wright, young Master Kai," he replied. "You assigned me to keep an eye on Lucas." Yes, that guy." Kai nodded. "So, do you have anything to report?" This time, Chris' smile disappeared for a few long seconds when Kai referred to him as that guy. After all, Chris was the youngest son of the prestigious Wright family. They are called the Lions who protect the North from vampires. Although his family mostly never gave him any respect, others never dared to treat him in such a manner. However, Chris suppressed his frustration and plastered his amiable smile once more. "Yes, indeed," he nodded. "It appears that the rumors about him are true. Lucas has truly become Leo Kurogami's disciple. He practically confirmed it himself when he arrived late for the first exam." "I see," Kai mused, twirling the ends of his shoulder-long hair. He then glanced at Grace, who stood among the crowd with her eyes focused at her feet. So she was right about him. He pondered in his mind, but then, did I truly misjudge him? Kai could hardly believe that someone had managed to deceive him. He really did make a blunder, huh? But he couldn't afford to dwell on his mistake right now. Since the King's tournament was about to start in 2 days, he needed to focus on coming up with a plan that could help him control the situation from this point onward. Nodding resolutely, he voiced his thoughts. "All right, thank you for telling me this. I will personally handle Lucas. If you ever require a favor from me, don't hesitate to ask." "Thank you," Chris replied, slightly bowing his head. "I will keep that in mind." With a decisive nod, Kai declared, "All right, thank you all for your efforts. You're free to leave now." Upon hearing this, everyone gave him a look of acknowledgement and exited his apartment. Only a select few individuals stayed behind: Grace, Alberto, and Quinn. "Do you see now?" Grace spoke up in a feeble tone as soon as everyone left. "I told you to go after Lucas. I told you he was the mastermind from the start." "Yeah, I still don't believe he's some sort of mastermind," Kai scoffed. "At most, I think he's suspicious. He's hiding more than he's revealing." Again, Grace pinched the bridge of her nose and let out a frustrated cry. "You're being foolish again. I'm telling you, he's deceiving you. He has already done it before, and as long as you continue like this, he'll always stay one step ahead of you." "Grace," Kai raised his voice. His story checked out. He was at his headquarters, giving strategic commands to his troops when someone was fighting Quinn. Besides, he had a broken hand. How could that be Lucas? "Tell me, how? Are you suggesting that a weakling like him defeated Quinn with a broken arm while managing his troops?" Grace bit her lower lip in frustration. "I don't know. All I know is that it was definitely Lucas. He told me about it. He said you wouldn't believe me, and you aren't. Everything is happening just as he predicted. Why can't you believe me, just this once?" Kai furrowed his brow in confusion. He was about to respond when Quinn interjected. "It wasn't Lucas," he stated. "That guy is no match for me. Do you really think I was beaten by someone like him?" Section Riawa Macron Snow N tilde micro apostrophe L dot so 1/2 ftm cents. "I don't know. Maybe you were, I don't know," Grace snapped. "That guy is beyond my understanding. He has done things I can't explain. It's as if he knows the future. He's aware of things that nobody should know." The frown on Kai's face deepened. "What do you mean by that?" Grace hesitated, swallowing a mouthful of saliva before continuing. "He told Ella that I was using her sister as leverage to persuade her to join your group." "Ella's sister?" Kai leaned forward. "You mean Ava Bright? Isn't she in a coma?" Upon hearing those words, surprise and shock washed over Grace's face. How do you know about that?" she asked, bewildered. "It doesn't matter," Kai replied, averting his gaze and resting his chin on his hands. Kai was aware of Ava's condition through the Book of Prophecy. He had planned to cure her coma to gain favor from Ella. However, with Lucas making up a lie like that, Kai knew he couldn't pursue that plan anymore. It was no longer an option. But a new question arose. How did Lucas come to possess knowledge about Ava? It's not something that should be public knowledge right now. Does he have something much like my Book of Prophecy? Kai thought, something that lets him know about the future? And if that was the case, perhaps Lucas truly was the mastermind who had almost helped Nero from revealing his gift during the mock war. Regardless, Kai let out a heavy sigh. "I will deal with him and make him answer all my questions." Upon hearing this, a faint smile flickered on Grace's face which did not go unnoticed by Kai. Observing her reaction, he simply shook his head. "I don't know what her issue is with Lucas, but she has been more of a nuisance than a help to me," Kai remarked in his mind with another sigh. "It's fine, all I need to do is win the King's tournament, and then I can throw her away." "Achoo, it seems like I've caught a cold or something." "I really dislike the cold. It's not that I mind having a fever, but dealing with a sore throat and forcing food down is just unpleasant. Ironically, my favorite season is winter, mainly because of the snow and cozy sweater hoodies." "Oh, right. Now is not the time to dwell on my likes and dislikes. In front of me, there sat a red baby bird on the table, chirping energetically. It almost felt like she was urging me to feed her a broken bar because she was. Oh, yes, in the past few weeks, I managed to determine the gender of the phoenix. She's a she. I mean, she's a girl. You see, I was under the illusion that phoenixes and dragons were genderless because I read somewhere that they could reproduce asexually. However, my master informed me that they can also reproduce through normal means. So, I decided to check the gender of my phoenix, and yeah, she's a girl. In just 3.5 weeks, she has already grown to the size of my hand. At this rate, in the time of 1 month, she will be the size of my arm. Her growth rate is astonishing. Upon doing some research and asking about it with my master, I found out that the most significant growth period for phoenixes is during their youth. Essentially, they mature rapidly. Once they reach their youth, their aging slows down considerably. They remain in their youthful state for years, only growing in size and power, gradually approaching adulthood until their aging process comes to a halt completely. If a phoenix is killed, they rise from their ashes and are reborn, hence they are said to be the symbol of immortality. The only way a phoenix can be hurt or killed is either by another phoenix or if they willingly choose to end their own life. As all these thoughts flashed in my mind, a tired yawn escaped my lips. Damn, I was sleepy. Krug. Her chirping snapped me back to reality, pulling me out of my drowsy state. Right. I let out a sleepy sigh and pushed a spoonful of berries towards her. Here you go. As she pecked at the berries with her beak, I observed her actions, feeling myself gradually drifting back into a doze. I knew she would wake me up again with her loud chirping or a gentle poke in no time. Now, don't blame me for not taking proper care of her. I assure you, I'm doing my best. It's just that I don't have any experience with pets. Besides, it's currently 4:56 a.m., it's early morning, and here I am, sacrificing my precious sleep to feed her. It's only natural that I feel sleepy. Krug. Yeah. There you go. As I watched her gobble down the berries, I felt as if a sudden urge to pet her had overcome me. Without any particular reason, I gently started stroking her cute little head. Creak-a-keck, she seemed to enjoy it, as she rubbed her head against mine in response. Ah, you're cute. A smirk formed on my lips. However, my expression quickly shifted to a pensive one as I rested my chin on the hand that was previously petting her. When I took my hand off her, she let out a sad cry, but my mind was somewhere else as I let out a sigh and muttered, "It feels weird." Crick. No, not you. I squinted my eyes as I looked at her, deep in thought. Referring to you as you or baby bird feels weird. I think it's time to give you a name. Not bothering to listen to my drowsy rambling, she continued to stuff the food in her mouth. But what should I name you? I pondered aloud. You're probably the last of your kind alive in the world right now. A name for the final phoenix, huh? Or perhaps a name for the first phoenix in years. As I observed her, noticing the subtle fiery glow emanating from her, only one name came into my head, Seraphina. I whispered quietly, then nodded decisively and declared it out loud. From this moment onward, I will name you Seraphina. Cricker, you like it? I grinned, my smile widening as I lovingly stroked her head again. How cute. After feeding and petting Seraphina to my heart's content, I rose from my seat and began to put on my tracksuit. I had plans to meet up with Leo. The semester exams were finally over and we had a 2-day break. During this time, the instructors would be grading our exams and determining our scores based on both written and physical evaluations. Leo had already set plans for the next 2 days. He wanted me to perfect Mirage Walk and work on my techniques. So yeah, I'll be training day and night again. Of course, I'll come back from time to time to check up on Sarah and feed her. When I asked Leo when he was going to evaluate our scores for the weapon arts exam which he had overseen, he said that he had already done it. I was once again left speechless. That man is a monster, I'm telling you all. While the rest of the instructors had not even begun to grade us yet, he was already done with it. Moving on, Only the cadets with a high academic ranking and high scores on the semester exams would be eligible to participate in the main event of the King's Tournament. The tournament would run 7 days and it would be broadcasted live on news channels worldwide. The main game, which would determine the next in line for the King's throne, or simply, the next Cadet Council President, would occur on a final day the 7th day. Only those with the top 200 academic rankings or higher would be able to participate in the main game. Other cadets could only participate in side games if they so desired. The side games would offer various rewards. By the way, since I was confident that I would easily secure a spot within the top 200, Leo said that I should be focusing on nothing but growing stronger. Sighing softly, I once again caressed Seraphina's head. You stay here until I return. All right, Crook. 2 days later, somewhere in the great deserts of the eastern continent, 2 men were engaged in an intense battle. One might wonder, who are these 2 individuals? Well, who else would be foolish enough to train in such a harsh environment and risk succumbing to a heat stroke? Of course, it was none other than Leo and his dear disciple yours truly. You see, the King's Tournament was just a day away, and Leo had decided to put me through the most grueling training imaginable. I wasn't exaggerating this time. This was really hard mode training he was putting me through. I remember when we were training in the southern mountain range, Leo casually mentioned that he was taking it easy on me. At the time, I didn't believe him for a second. What could be harder than this? I remember myself thinking through the pain and cold, but now, after enduring daily sessions with him under the scorching desert sun, I have to admit, he wasn't kidding. He really was taking it easy on me. Why am I being so dramatic? One might ask. Well, I was ordered to walk the blistering sands barefoot while trying to perfect my mirage walk. At this point, I couldn't feel anything below my knees. My heels were scorched. Leo is a nut job, I'm telling you, a true nut job, and that's something coming from me. No matter how much I shriek or shed tears of agony, it doesn't seem to faze him in the slightest. Occasionally, he would toss me a healing potion with a smug grin. That was the extent of his sympathy. Ugh, God, I hate him. Ha ha, I roared, unleashing a battle cry as I swung my spear at his foot. Whooshaw, but in a swift motion, he leapt into the air, dodging my attack. I quickly capitalized on this opportunity by retracting my spear and positioning it for a thrust. My plan was to land a blow as soon as he touched the ground, catching him off balance. Thwacker! But he swiftly kicked his leg back in mid-jump and as if walking on air he lunged at me, thrashing his knee on my face. Thudakuk! I cried out in pain, collapsing onto my knees as he landed beside me with a resounding thud. That's cheating, I accused him, gasping for breath. You're Leo Kurogami, you shouldn't resort to such tricks against me. Yeah? Will you say the same to your opponents tomorrow? Leo retorted. I won't be fighting tomorrow, I replied, mustering the strength to rise as Leo tended to my bleeding nose with a healing potion. I will only participate in the main event on the 7th day. You do know you can join the side games even if your rank is above 200, right? Leo raised an eyebrow. I'd rather save my energy for the main event. I waved my hand dismissively. All right, Leo shrugged, finishing up the treatment and healing my nose like brand new. I suppose we'll have 7 more days to train, then. On second thought, maybe I'll take part in some side games, just for the thrill of it, I said, averting my gaze. Beads of sweat formed on my forehead at the thought of enduring 7 more days of this torture that Leo had named training. Ha ha ha, Leo burst into hearty laughter. Good, win as many games as you can, and then emerge victorious in the main event too. Become the next Cadet Council President. Remember, you're now known as my disciple. I couldn't help but nod my head as I heaved a sigh. Shoo-ee-ee. Ha, ha, ah. Panting heavily, I approached my apartment door, hastening my steps. I had to get inside quickly and turn on the AC before crashing for a nap. Yeah, my plan was to sleep the entire day and wake up fresh tomorrow morning, ready for the King's Tournament. Huh? But all that planning came crashing down as I saw that my apartment door was slightly ajar. Fuck, I cursed under my breath, dashing inside. Did I forget to lock the damn door? I had been running back and forth between my apartment, the teleportation gate, and the training spot in the desert every 4 to 5 hours, so I was naturally exhausted. Maybe in my rush to get back, I left the door unlocked by mistake. Arg, I hope nothing's gone wrong. With that thought lingering in the back of my mind, I entered my apartment and spotted Sarah sitting on the center table, chirping away merrily. For a brief moment, relief washed over me, but it was short-lived, as my gaze fell upon a hand that was gently caressing the red baby bird's feathers. There stood a young woman in her late teens with dark black hair and eyes as green as the finest emeralds, and she was gently petting my Seraphina. "Oh, Lucas, you're back?" Her eyes met mine, and she greeted me with a warm smile. "How the hell did you break into my apartment?" I politely asked, flashing a smile of my own. "The door was open," she replied, the smile still lingering on her face. I see, I nodded, trying to process the situation. "Lucas," she called out my name. I raised an eyebrow, knowing what she was going to say. The smile on her face vanished in an instant. Her eyes widened, and blue lines appeared on her forehead as she pointed at Sarah on the table, her voice filled with shock. "Is this a phoenix? Calm the hell down." I pressed my index finger against my lips, signaling for her to speak in a lower tone. She took my reaction as a confirmation and had to cover her mouth with her hands to hold herself back from screaming in shock. "I knew it," she whispered in a hushed tone after a few seconds, her eyes still fixated on Sarah. "I knew from the way this bird was glowing. Unlike fully grown phoenixes, Sarah's body isn't engulfed in flames since she's still a baby. However, her red feathers emit a gentle glow, giving her a mystical aura that made it obvious she was a mythical creature." "Okay, Amelia, you need to calm down," I said, approaching her cautiously. "How in the world do you have a phoenix in your possession?" she exclaimed urgently, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought mythical mana beasts like phoenixes were all eradicated 8 years ago." I found her somewhere," I replied, nervously scratching the back of my neck. "Wahaha, you found her somewhere, and it's her?" Amelia's voice wavered with nervous laughter. "Yeah," I managed to utter. Naturally, the black-haired beauty was clearly at a loss for words this time, and this time, she wasn't speechless because of my extreme handsomeness. "You do realize the serious trouble you can get into if you're caught with a mythical ranked mana beast, right?" Amelia fell back onto the couch behind her, her gaze fixed on me. "Of course, I know. 8 years ago, the central government subjugated all mythical ranked mana beasts, considering them a threat to our civilization. They had also made it a crime to shelter or hide dangerous mana beasts like dragons, phoenixes, or bicorns from the watchful eyes of the government. If you're caught committing this crime, a sentence of at least 1 to 2 years in prison will be given to you." "I know," I replied earnestly. "That's why I'm asking you not to report this to the Academy or anyone else. You do realize that I could get into trouble for not reporting something like this, don't you?" Amelia raised an eyebrow at my audacious request. "I'm aware of that too," I responded, "but please, do me this favor. If I ever get caught, I won't drag you into it. I give you my word." Amelia sighed, massaging her forehead. "Fine, but in return, you're going to do me a favor as well." "Absolutely," I nodded. "It's only fair that I give her something in return for a favor like this. By the way, why are you here?" "Oh, right, we came because you weren't responding in the group chat," Amelia explained. "Nero and Kent even tried calling you, but you didn't reply." "Is that so?" I furrowed my brow and glanced at my smart bracelet, turning it on. Ding, ding, dinger! As soon as I switched it on, a barrage of chat messages and missed call notifications flooded the screen. I had kept my smart bracelet turned off because Leo wanted me to avoid any and all kinds of distractions during training. "Sorry for causing you trouble," I began apologizing. But suddenly, something clicked in my mind. "Wait, Amelia," I interrupted. "You mentioned we came here. You're not alone?" "Yeah," Amelia confirmed. "Since Kent and I live closest to your apartment building, we both decided to check up on you." My mouth fell open as her words registered. And just where is Kent? Exclamation mark. At that moment, the sound of a toilet flushing reached my ears. Soon after, the bathroom door clicked open, and Kent stepped out. Oh, hey, bro, where have you been? We've been trying to get hold of you in the group chat. I even called you on your bracelet. Kent approached me, placing a hand on my shoulder. When you didn't respond to all the pings and the calls, we got worried and Amelia and I came over. We noticed your door was open, so we rushed in, worried that something had happened to you, but you weren't here. As he spoke, Kent's gaze shifted towards Sarah, who was still sitting on the table, chirping happily. Crook. I was almost about to facepalm, realizing I had to ask Kent not to mention anything about Sarah and make him understand the severity of the situation. Instead we found your pet parrot, but when he said that, I couldn't help but raise my eyebrows in bafflement. Pet parrot? I repeated. She looks like a parrot to you? What else would she be, a canary? Kent blinked a few times. By the way, I have to say, you're taking great care of your bird, whatever species she is. Her feathers look like they're glowing by just how impeccably clean they are. I was rendered speechless. I turned to Amelia after hearing the words coming out of this goofball's mouth. In reply, Amelia simply shrugged with a helpless expression. Damn, I had always known it, but today I have to say it again. This guy is dumb. Well, at least I won't have to explain anything to him now. But why didn't you tell me you got a pet? Kent asked, his face creasing with a frown. You know we're not allowed to have pets in regular apartment buildings, right? To keep a pet, I'd have to submit an application to the cadet council and change my apartment. But I like this place, I explained, so I kept it a secret. I see. Kent nodded a few times before pouting in annoyance. But not even telling your best friend? That's hurtful. Wearing a helpless smile, I pulled him into a side hug. How about we make this our little secret, huh? No, I'm still mad, Kent responded, his pout still in place. His words made my eyebrow twitch, and I retorted, do you want me to cash in one of my remaining punches from our punch bet right now? Actually, secrets between friends can strengthen the bond, right? So yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut. Kent quickly switched gears, wearing a smile that could rival even the greatest negotiators. Meanwhile, Amelia had been observing us with a blank expression, probably astonished by the sheer professionalism of my lies. After a moment, she cleared her throat and spoke up. Anyway, Lucas, we were trying to reach you in the group chat because we wanted to know your new rank, but you weren't responding. We already got our new ranks? I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, Amelia confirmed with a nod. We received them this morning. That's why we were trying to reach you. We need to know where our unit stands. Yeah, let me see. I had stopped paying attention to her words, already focused on opening the Academy's online portal website. With a few swift keystrokes on the holographic keyboard being projected out from my smart bracelet, I entered my identity details and roll number, eager to find out my new rank. Our roll number is different from our academic ranking, and it's the same as our smart bracelet's model number, which is printed on the bottom of it. It serves as our personal identification number. Ding! After the Academy AI confirmed my details and checked my IP address, a text window appeared, revealing my new academic ranking. Upon seeing it, a smirk formed on my face. Hey, what the Lucas, bro? You told me you barely passed your written exams, Kent exclaimed, leaning over my shoulder to get a look at my smart bracelet's screen. So then what the fuck is this? Meanwhile, Amelia shook her head and rubbed her temples. I shouldn't even be surprised anymore. Global Academy portal, cadet name, Lucas Morningstar. Cadet Academy rank, previous, 116,969. Cadet exam rank, first year, written exam, first physical exam, 56th. Cadet Academy rank, new, 000192 ==